Yeah, Raw.
Number 284, November 2nd, 1998. Shane comes out for a promo. Shane McMahon. And Jim Ross says...
Shane McMahon.
I don't know why I felt... Not Shane Helms in 1998.
Just checking.
Jim Ross says, Vince is not here. This might be the passing the torch night. I laughed. So Shane says Steve Austin, when he was re-signed to the WWF, got a title shot, and he's going to get that title shot on Raw the night after the Survivor Series. He brings Austin out, but as this is going on, a limo arrives backstage, and Vince McMahon is there. They lied. They moved to the stage. Vince took over the promo. He fucked with Austin for a while, fucked with the fans.
Let's not gloss over this fan fucking here, Vinny.
I never would.
Vince does this amazing promo, and 19 years ago, they're already talking about he may be retiring soon.
Yes.
19 years ago. And he says, I know you all want me to retire. I know you all want me to step down so that Shane can take over.
He didn't stop there.
I'll bet you fans even wish that maybe I would die.
And they cheered.
They cheered.
It did.
And of course he knows the only way I'll ever step down is when I die.
Mm-hmm. And when he did, he wanted, the day he died, no family, no friends, no wrestlers will show up at my funeral because I want to go straight to hell.
He was so over the top and so awesome that even Steve Austin was grinning ear to ear at this promo.
He threatened to demote Shane to referee or ring crew.
I don't think he threatened. He said he's demoted.
Maybe he did.
He said
Shane was gone for the rest of the show. So.
You are being relieved of your duties. Yeah. You're no longer an officer. If you want to remain gainfully employed, you can be a lowly referee. How disrespectful. And if you screw that up, you'll be back on the ring crew. I guess unaware that the refs are the ring crew.
News to Vince.
Yeah.
He said he could not do anything about Austin's contract. He couldn't fire him. But the one thing he could do was change the date of Austin's title shot.
Vince also had one other great line. You got to watch this again, Vinny. There was so much great Vince here. He said, "You're not like me at all, Shane. You're a lot like your mother."
He did say that.
He was dripping with disgust.
Politician?
He was just so amazing. He was the most amazing dick in this segment.
Yes, he usually is. So Steve Austin would get his title shot at the Survivor Series in the tournament with 16 or 14 other men, as we would find out later. His first round opponent would be the Big Boss Man. And all the fans were calling him an asshole. And Vince went with the "I know you are, but what am I" defense. And he left. Yes, Vince was awesome, I noted here.
I love the idea that Vince, he's putting Steve Austin in this tournament because, if Steve Austin wins, he has to wrestle 4 times.
Right.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
except Undertaker and Kane who have a bye.
The alternative is to give him a match the next night.
Sure, exactly.
And he has to win once.
But he's so happy that the first round opponent for Stone Cold Steve Austin is the Big Boss Man.
Sure.
He's like, this is a classic heel. He's sure that there's no way that Steve Austin can get past the Big Boss Man.
Boy, man. He's big and a boss.
Yeah. That's such a great wrestling name, too. The Big Boss Man.
It is outstanding.
What is it?
It's like
the Big Boss Man.
He's the guy at the end of the video game you have to beat.
He is.
Take it up with him if you don't like it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I just imagine Vince sitting there going, "You're big. You're the boss. You're the Big Boss Man." That's it. That's how I came up with the name.
Yeah. I call my boss Boss Man all the time.
They plugged a brand new internet website.
Wow.
www.stonecold.com.
God, I wonder if that's still up.
No, I looked. It just goes to www.com. So they're still paying for it.
Well, it's cheap. It's like $11.99 a month or $11.99 a year.
Yeah. I was hoping to actually go to Cold Stone because I like ice cream. They showed during the break, Vince came down to ringside. He was chewing out Ross and Lawler, reminding them who signed their checks. And he pointed to the cage above the ring, and he guaranteed someone will be paying hard time tonight.
And these two idiots throughout the show, what did they mean by hard time? What did Vince mean? Who's going to pay hard time? What is hard time?
Well,
we found out.
They found out. Everyone found out.
It's a beating by the Big Boss Man inside
Big Boss Man will give you a big beating
with a nightstick.
Yeah. DX versus the Brood. DX here was the Outlaws and X-Pac, and the Brood, of course, was Gangrel, Edge, and Christian. And it is funny to watch these, go back and watch these shows. And of course, the Brood were brand new at the time, or close to it. But in this match, they were essentially the geeks, and the X was the stars. And in hindsight, you're looking at, that's Edge. Edge is, in 2017, a much bigger star than anyone on the other team. And you could argue Christian is too. So they promised full brackets for the tournament later. Had a fun match for 2 or 3 minutes. Then a 6-way broke out, and everyone do a drink when I say this. Kane came out to kill everybody.
Yeah, he came out and he chokeslammed the hell out of Edge, Christian, X-Pac.
All the
Everybody
skinny
else
dudes.
escaped.
And
he didn't get the skinny guys. He had a lot of chokeslams to do tonight. Didn't want to burn out his shoulders.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. There was not even a bell to say the match was over. They just went to commercial.
I would say he chokeslammed everybody he trusted to jump,
That's also
Sure.
but I'm pretty sure Road Dogg would have gone up all right.
Yeah.
Gangrel's entrance. Awesome.
Oh, yeah?
Very underrated.
I think people remember the entrance.
Yeah, that's all they remember. They
Well,
remember a goddamn thing
there
about
is
his
that.
career.
I mean, especially...
He had a great entrance. He had cool music.
And then later on, like, all of them came up from
Yes.
under the stage.
Yes.
Which was even cooler.
He was an okay wrestler and couldn't talk at all.
You know, it is amazing when you see Kane. How many times did Kane come out during the show? Like 5?
5.
Does
had to be
pyro
more
go
than
off
that.
every single time?
There was
Yeah.
a lot of pyro in the show.
Like, WWE has not blown off pyro since WrestleMania. Like, they're making so fucking much money. And they're too cheap for pyro now.
yeah.
And back here in 98, they were just coming off one of their worst money-losing years of all time. They're
Yes.
fucking blowing off pyro
Yes.
right and left.
Michael Cole sucked up to Vince backstage. Vince brought up Cole's stupid "how do you feel" question from last week. And Boss Man grabbed Cole by the throat, and Vince says, "That's how I felt."
You know what I do like about this show? I will give some praise. They're remembering things from a few weeks ago.
Sure.
That's a lot better than nowadays. They don't remember anything from last week.
This was not in any way a very good wrestling show, but it was a pretty good TV show.
Well, for the most part, I'll give my criticism here at the end.
All right.
It's getting hot in this fucking flannel.
You don't say.
Gee, I'm going to start taking my clothes off here. Don't look at my chest, Vinny.
It's that kind of Halloween.
Yeah.
The Draws
Now he's sexy lumberjack.
versus Hawk. Oh, God. Thank God we don't have to see the battle axe. So the Draws versus Hawk was set up by the Hardy Boys beating the Road Warriors on Heat. Which sounds like... It's one of those matches where it happened, but... It
sounds like something that should be obvious. And then you realize it's 97.
Yeah.
And they were jobbers.
98.
98.
But, yeah. But it sounds like it's in the category of dream matches that you would love to see that actually happened that you forgot about. Now, it was Draws in the match, not Hawks. I'm not sure if it counts anymore. Regardless, this was Draws and Hawk in a singles match, and Hawk came out drunk again. Draws attacked him before the bell, whipped his ass. Animal came out to watch, and eventually he and Draws just left together, and that was it. So not technically a match.
You know, there was a guy on this show that was supposed to be sober that was way more fucked up than Hawk was here, pretending to be drunk, as we'll get to later.
You know, as I was coming here, I stopped at the bottom of the hill down there, got some gas because I was running a little bit early. I walked into the convenience store there, and there was a man who was inebriated, missing 4 front teeth, asking me if I played
This don't
rugby.
sound like Bothell.
Asking me if I played rugby because rugby players don't have necks.
Really?
Gave me a
What?
fist pound.
Sure, brought this guy on the show.
He squared up with me.
This guy sounds fun.
Like he was going to,
We should have got his number. Don't bring him to the show.
Oh, come on now.
he squared up with me like he was going to, we were going to run a play or something. I bumped shoulders with him and I patted him on the back. I said, "Hey, be careful out there tonight, kid." And then as I left, he turned around and said, "That guy's cool." And then he tripped and fell into the chips rack.
This sounds awesome.
Why did you leave?
This sounds more fun than the show.
Bothell.
This had to be Kenmore. We're right on the line right here.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it was Kenmore.
Vince and Boss Man bumped into Jim Cornette backstage, told him to cut out the 1980s wrestling crap, and sent him on his way. And I suspect if they ran into Jim Cornette tomorrow, the same thing would happen. Mankind and Al Snow did the same promo they've always done.
Oh, I thought you were getting to the match already.
Who has the stupider gimmick? Mankind had a Secrets of Pro Wrestling Revealed reference about stomping the foot. Well, time for the match, Brian.
All right. So my biggest problem was I had no idea who the baby faces were.
Still don't.
Like, I think the Oddities
I don't
are
have a clue.
baby faces.
It was Mankind and Al Snow versus the Oddities.
I think the Oddities are baby faces. I'm pretty sure Mankind is a baby face.
Sure.
Al Snow is definitely a heel to me. I thought that meant Foley's team were the heels, but then they got the heat on Mankind.
Right.
So I guess the Oddities were supposed to be the heels.
Meh.
This sucks.
This fucking sucks. Hey, you know what else sucks? 14 men in this World Championship tournament, and one of the entrants is Al Snow.
Yeah.
How thin was this roster? Al Snow was one of the top 14 guys they had. And I mean this in and out of storyline, because he doesn't win very much.
That's fair.
Well, you need bodies.
A warm body.
What I liked about this match, I got one thing I did like
I was
about
going
it.
to say, what?
What I liked about it was Golga's just given up trying to pretend he's not Earthquake. He's doing the run-in sit-down splash that nobody in the history of this business did except Earthquake. Exactly like that. It was that big and fat. I mean...
He was skinnier here than he was in Earthquake.
He was a little skinnier, I think.
A lot.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, different outfit.
I bet if you went back and looked, you'd see he was skinnier here. So this is not a very good match. And at the end, it got much, much worse because Mankind could not find Mr. Socko. There was no sock in his pants. There was no sock on his feet. He ran backstage frantically in search of Socko. We had Al Snow versus both
He
Oddities.
wrestled with no socks on?
Right.
Apparently.
That's so disgusting.
Yeah.
In his tennis shoes.
Dude.
And sweats, which don't actually stop sweat from going over. They all went into his shoes. Anyway,
I hadn't thought of that.
I had to watch Al Snow wrestle Kurgan and Golga by himself for several minutes. And finally, Golga won.
It was just... It was funny because he starts wrestling them by themselves and they're all doing spots. And I'm like, this is so fucking absolutely horrible. But the more spots they did, the more I was like, it's kind of fun, actually. And then he got beaten.
Beat.
Golga went for the splash and missed. Kurgan dropped an elbow, but he accidentally hit Golga. Kurgan finally chokeslams him. Golga does the big Earthquake splash for the pin. It wasn't a disaster by the end. But do I ever want to see this again? No, never.
In the interview right before this match, Mankind talked about he saw a show the other night and he knows all the secrets to pro wrestling now. Mm-hmm. Making reference to the real secrets of pro wrestling.
Stomp the foot.
Yes.
Stomp the foot, Vinny.
Yeah.
And remember,
Stomp
when
the
you
foot.
when you blade, you stick the blade to the bone and you give it a jerk.
Yeah, I did that,
is what
actually.
he- is what he
Maybe that
told
was the
us.
problem. I just finally figured it out. That's why I fucked it up.
To the bone.
Yeah.
Vince is backstage. The crew is around a monitor watching the show. One guy in the crew happens to be NBA superstar Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah. Just watching.
Just hanging out backstage watching the show with the boys.
What's he doing in Houston, Texas?
I don't know. What maybe they had a game.
road game.
Next night, yeah.
Rockets. Okay.
So Vince spies him, and his response is not, "Hey, it's Shaq." His response is not, "What is Shaq doing here?" His response is, "Do you have a backstage pass?" Shaq doesn't have one. Vince says, "You got to get out of here.
No, Shaq goes, I don't need one.
I don't need one." Even better. So Vince orders him to leave, but then he leaves himself before Shaq has a chance to make a stand or anything.
And this is why he went to WCW.
And Shaq looks right in the camera. He'd already been there.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Shaq looks right in the
I wonder if he threw
camera.
him out.
And just looks right in the camera and just mouths, "Asshole." Shaq was the best part of this show by a mile.
He was great.
So they go to break, and they come back, and Mankind is backstage. He shouts down a long, long hallway, "Shaq, help me take a look. My sock's missing, man." And I don't even know if Shaq was actually there. I kind of hope he wasn't.
I'm sure he wasn't.
So Mankind went to get Vince to help him find a sock. Steven Regal versus a mystery opponent.
Dude. Okay, the good news is they played real man's man.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they did.
That was awesome. Bad news is,
This was not Regal's best night.
I don't know what was going on, but he mumbled his way through a promo. Mm-hmm. This was the worst William Regal match I've seen in my entire life.
It was really bad.
There may be worse ones to come for all I know. He was so fucked up. He looked horrible. He was sloppy. He was botching spots. The spots they didn't botch, his timing was off. He somehow got a bloody nose. I was like, how the fuck did this guy end up in the ring? How did they let him in the ring the next week? I presume he's in the ring next week. Maybe not. Maybe this was like the end for a while.
It didn't last long.
He was just fucking horrendous in this match.
They did announce that this guy, who at the time they announced it, had not even wrestled a match in the company yet, was in the World Championship tournament.
Yeah.
Did I mention their roster was thin? Let's see. Yeah, just a terrible match with the Goldust. Terry Runnels, the night before, as I had thought I remembered, she revealed she was pregnant with Val's child, Val Venus's child, but Val kicked her to the curb. So she comes out here in the Marlena outfit again, trying to suck up to Goldust.
Clearly very early in her pregnancy.
Yes.
Although she's ready to breastfeed. It was really weird. They
You wanna tell
grow.
him, Craig?
No, go ahead.
Okay. They're fake, Brian.
Trying to
I
censor
realize that,
myself.
you jackass!
So Goldust was about to kick Regal in the balls to get intentionally disqualified, but then Kane came out and both guys got disqualified. At least we got a bell this time. Should be happy. So Kane came out, everyone do a drink, chokeslammed everyone. Marlena was turning to Goldust. Kane began to menace her. He grabbed her by the neck and lifted her up, but thank God referees talked him into putting her down.
I'm quite positive that she was absolutely completely buck naked underneath that skin-colored dress.
Well, now I need to go back and investigate.
You didn't notice? What in the fuck were you watching?
I was
Kane?
I was taking notes, Brian.
So was I.
There was no visual means of support.
So was everybody.
I see. Anyway, he put her down.
You wouldn't have made fun of my pregnancy joke if you would have seen it.
So he chokeslammed Tony Garea instead, who was not naked under his clothes.
Yeah, he is.
Sure he is.
What do you think he's wearing under there?
That's a good point. I'm sure he is. Anyway,
You're killing the show, Vinny.
the show was put together. Kane at this point was like a 90% favorite to win this damn tournament because he's killing the entire roster. So they finally got the full brackets. 14 guys. Taker and Kane. Each
I
got
hope
a
you
first-
read them all.
I did.
Okay.
I will.
It's very important for
People
historical
need
purposes.
notices, yes. Taker and Kane get a first round bye and then wrestle each other
Why?
because they were the guys fighting for the title in the match where it was held up.
Okay.
Vince just likes to do this. He did it with Hogan and Andre at Mania 4.
He
too.
did. That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So from there, from the top down, Rock and Triple H, Goldust and Shamrock.
These are the actual matches.
These are the matches in the first
Okay.
round. Yes. Mankind versus a mystery opponent.
Oh man, who could that be?
There were
They're
question
so
marks.
they're so thin they got an extra spot.
And I had to hire a guy yet. Yeah.
There's just a question mark, so I'm guessing it's who.
Oh, could be. Jeff Jarrett versus Al Snow.
Good God Almighty! Can you imagine? Jeff Jarrett versus Al Snow.
Jeff had a good match tonight.
I don't remember.
Okay.
X-Pac versus Steven Regal, excuse me. And then, yes, Steve Austin versus the Big Boss Man.
Dude, what a lineup!
One of those 14 men will be world champion by the end of the night. Mankind met with Vince. Their audio was off. Couldn't hear much of what they were saying. Finally, they got it turned on. Vince asked Mankind, please don't interfere in this next match. If you don't interfere, I will give you a gift. Mankind says, I trust you, Vince. Fool. No matter what present you have, I will do as you say. Vince presented him with his gift, which was the very first WWF Hardcore Championship
Oh
belt.
man, what a disaster! It's one of those things that, like, if you don't think about it, it's like, oh man, here comes the hardcore title. Then you think about it, and it's like, what a disaster!
Chair shots to the head are going to
Oh.
double.
The lives ruined by this stupid belt.
Going to be a lot of them.
Of course, Crash Holly in the playground is coming.
That is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
It's on one of the DVDs I had.
Like, by the way,
great.
that Vince wanted him to do something in the future, and he would reward him, and then he rewarded him before the future event. It's very trusting of Vince.
It is, actually. So Vince says, you know, Mankind, I've lost one since tonight, but I feel that I've gained another. And he starts to wheel his way out of the room. And Mankind says, thanks, Dad. And Vince stops. And he gives this serious pause. And then he sort of rolls his eyes and continues on his way.
He is appalled.
And the best thing, as his wheelchair rolled through the door, he has his name embossed on the back of it. It says McMahon.
That's very important. This is not just any wheelchair.
No. Ken Shamrock versus The Rock.
for the Intercontinental Championship.
Vince was having a conversation with Shamrock backstage, but he ordered the camera to leave before we could hear anything. And then after the introductions, Vince comes out and says, I have a problem with the people, and that means I have a problem with the people's champ. So, Rock, if you fail to win the Intercontinental title from Ken Shamrock tonight, I will remove you from the Survivor Series tournament, and you will no longer be the number one contender.
He has a small, minor little nitpick, but Rock was the number one contender to the championship. Rock is in the tournament. Rock is a big star, and he's a huge name. And this was just on in the middle of the show. I mean, if you're going to do that stipulation, this should be the main event of the show. This is a big, major thing going into Survivor Series. Hey, it's thrown on TV.
Was it at least the top of the hour?
I don't even think so.
I don't really remember.
The pop when Rock came out.
Rock was loved.
Oh my gosh.
Shamrock was hated. Shamrock took the entire match, got the ankle lock, Rocky got the ropes, and started doing near falls. The crowd's living and dying on every one of them. And then the ref gets bumped. Shamrock levels the Rock. He exchanges looks with Vince and grabs a chair. He ends up eating the chair, and Rock hits the people's elbow, makes a cover. No ref. And so Shamrock hit Rock with the chair, and it was a DQ. Does that have to be that complicated?
No.
Yes. I mean, that's what they do.
They made it very
But
complicated.
the answer is no, it did not need to be that complicated. It was, like everything else on the show, overcomplicated.
So Rock wins via DQ, but that means no title change, which means, as Vince notes, Rock is no longer the number one contender, and he is out of the tournament. At
You're
Survivor
no
Series.
longer the people's champ, you're the people's chump.
Oh,
That's some harsh words right there.
sick burn.
Man.
That was a really good match until the finish.
It was a very good match.
After the break, Rock was backstage throwing a tantrum, demanding Vince McMahon. Val Venus versus Jeff Jarrett.
I thought this was a good match.
They showed Val making it clear to Terry, they are not pregnant, she's pregnant. It's not our problem, it's your problem.
This guy is a babyface.
The best part about it is, he dumps a pregnant woman on Heat. Here he is 24 hours later. They have paired him up with the next available busty blonde, and so of course he's hitting on Deborah before the match.
Yeah, the babyface.
At least this guy's motivations are consistent and logical. I follow them.
Now we have to acknowledge one thing about this storyline that has not been explained yet. Val Venus is insisting. He's not saying like, you take the baby. He's not saying I don't want to be a father. He's insisting he's not the father.
Right.
So,
What's the story here? Maybe his cock really got chopped off by Mr. Yamaguchi.
maybe he's had a vasectomy, which I think that's where to go with this, right?
What are you looking at me like that for, Vinny?
I said vasectomy, didn't I?
You did, but I'm more...
I mean, that would explain this, wouldn't it? Like, maybe we don't know what happened. He came out and said there was shrinkage, but maybe what happened was it got chopped off. And so now he's certain that he could not possibly have impregnated Terry. What's that face for? Am I wrong?
I like my story better.
Then what has he been doing with Terry for the past 2 months?
Necking?
Oral.
Vinny, there's a lot of stuff that can be done. Hello?
Well, excuse me for not being aware of that.
Your poor wife.
Dude. What are you talking about? Vinny's so red right now. Look at Vinny's head compared to that panel over there.
So you're saying Val got his dick cut off, but he's still been hanging out with Terry. What's in it for him? This is Val Venus.
You're not a passionate lover, are you?
Do you think Val's a giver?
Well,
Vinny, if he doesn't have a cock anymore,
Yes.
then what the fuck does it matter who he's with?
that's true.
Why is he with anyone?
Maybe he likes her for her personality. Until she announced that she was pregnant.
I love her personality.
And then he's like, listen, dude, this ain't possible. I'm cockless.
Get that drop. Cockless and Bothell. Brian Alvarez.
I hate the show.
Oh, this show. This show. Like I made that up out of thin air. This is this show we're talking about. I'm trying to make this show make sense. What are you blaming me for?
So Val and Jeff wrestled for 2 or 3 minutes.
I didn't write this crap.
Well, then the Blue Blazer ran in and crushed Val for the DQ. They double-teamed Val. Blazer ran away, and Jarrett gave Val the stroke. Can we make jokes about that one too?
I'm not making any jokes.
I'm done.
I actually, when I was taking notes, I wrote down Jarrett stroked Val.
See,
Wow.
But I thought, no, that joke is too lewd for the Brian and Vinny show.
what the fuck are you talking
I will
about?
erase it, put something cleaner instead.
Who do you think listens to this? What are you talking about?
Not my son, I'll tell you that.
I don't know. Police arrived. Vince asked them to do their jobs and take the Rock away. Headbangers versus D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry.
This.
Hey, I got something to say about this. So Thrasher comes off the middle rope with a double sledge, and he blows out his damn knee. Mm-hmm. With a double sledge off the middle rope. So it always happens in wrestling. You run that machine too hard, too many dates a week, you come off the middle rope, you blow out your knee. This dude worked through it. He kept going, managed to make his comeback. He even did the required spot at the end of the match where he did a big dive over the top rope onto Mark Henry. Now, granted, there was little danger of being dropped. All he had to do was get over the top rope and he was caught by Mark Henry. But still, I gain a lot of respect for the Thrasher here.
So the Headbangers came out dressed as the Outlaws. So I guess that feud is still continuing. I can't keep track anymore. I have no idea. The winner of this match, by the way, gets a tag title shot at Survivor Series.
Oh, I can't wait.
Thrasher did in fact hurt himself immediately, limped his way through the rest of the match. It was funny watching a one-legged man pretend to manhandle Mark Henry around the ring. Let's see, this went on for a while.
Lights go out after the big dive. Take a drink.
Kane came out, take a drink. Kane killed everyone. Again, there was no bell. A dirt terrible segment, I wrote.
People hate D'Lo.
They do hate D'Lo.
They hate him.
People forget how hated D'Lo was.
He was very hated.
So you know how I watched this on the website, and there's a little thing at the bottom that has that shows you how much time is left.
Yes.
Also has little dots that show the beginning and end of the matches.
I was thinking the same thing.
There was nearly 30 minutes left and no more matches, and I was very, very frightened. Mm-hmm. Rock was in fact arrested and taken out of the building. Vince showed up to make fun of him. Rock did not take that well.
Rock is arrested. He's screaming at the cops that he's got donuts for all these fat pieces of trash.
Yeah.
They did not release him.
Like, you need to learn how to deal with the authorities, buddy. Have you never been arrested?
Have you?
Well, no, but I'm not The Rock.
He did not kill them with kindness. Owen Hart came out for a promo.
I have to say that I hate the end result of this. I hate where this is all going. I wish this whole stupid thing never happened. Mm-hmm. But separating myself from that, much like we must separate ourselves from what happened with Chris Benoit, I fucking love this storyline. It's so great. Like, why couldn't it have ended better? I mean, it's a stupid question, but I love storylines where there's a masked guy and you think you know who it is, but maybe it's not. Like when Hulk Hogan was Mr. America.
Yes, that was
It was
classic.
such a great storyline. Like, it was so obviously Mr. America, but the whole goal was to make you think maybe it's not. Even though, who the fuck else would it have been?
I don't think that's... Anyway.
I mean, no one did.
Owen Hart came out for a promo. Insisted he was retired. He was no longer on the WWF roster, but he had come all the way from his home in Calgary to face Dan Severn face-to-face, and hear what he had to say.
God, I felt for Owen here. Like, the guy's retired. People just won't leave him alone.
So he has to fly from Calgary to... where the hell were they?
Who cares? They
Houston.
were a long way away
Houston,
from Calgary.
A long way from Calgary to cut a promo. So Severn comes out in a neck brace, and he cuts a promo. God bless.
Just, it was
God
so,
bless the guy.
It was so bad, but because it's Dan Severn, like, it works. That's Dan.
That's the nicest way you could possibly put it. So he says he's not there for an apology. He just wants to know why Owen is running around in that silly blue blazer outfit.
Put too much energy into that.
I probably did.
But who are you kidding running around in that ridiculous blue blazer outfit?
Again, too much energy.
Damn it.
He says Owen is nothing but scum.
Owen says it's not me. It wasn't me. Mm-hmm. I'm not the blue blazer. I'm retired.
But Severn won't leave him alone. So finally, Owen... Did I mention Severn's in a neck brace, by the way?
Yes.
Yes.
Owen shoves him down and then clotheslines him. Bastard.
Probably because you shoved him down and Dan jumped right back up.
Well, there's that. So Steve Blackman runs out to make the save, and Owen leaves, but he still insists, I'm retired. Stay
Leave
out of
me
my
alone.
business.
I'm retired.
Yes.
Oh, this is so great.
So backstage, after the break, Severn is loaded into an ambulance. Blackman spots Owen and attacks him,
can I tell you the greatest moment of Steve Blackman's career? His buddy, who has a bad neck, has just been clotheslined in the middle of the ring by Owen Hart. They rush Severn into an ambulance, and once he's in there and he's safely with the medics being taken to the local medical facility, he turns around and he sees the guy that clotheslined his friend with a bad neck. And what does he decide to do? He fucking runs full speed and does the leaping switch kick out of the Karate Kid. Fucking kicks Owen right in the chest. Owen goes flying over a pile of boxes. It was the greatest thing on this show by a country mile. It was so fucking great. I rewound it over and over again.
So they're...
Didn't tackle him.
No.
Didn't run after him, throw punches. It's like, I'm going to run it. I'm going to do a jumping switch kick and kick a hole in your chest and send you through all these fucking boxes.
So they're brawling, and you hear Owen shouting, "I'm retired!"
So awesome.
And then the Blue Blazer arrives.
This was the best. The Blue Blazer showed up.
Blue Blazer
to
arrives.
save Owen Hart.
He attacks Blackman, puts him out with Owen's Dragon Sleeper, just to make things really confusing.
Right.
And Owen added a kick to the balls for good measure.
Again, I hate where this is going, but I love this angle right now. God.
So the cage is lowered. Vince and company come out for a promo. He says it's time to find out who is going to serve hard time tonight.
Vince was so unbelievable here.
He was micromanaging and being a dick about it.
Everybody.
And laying the trap.
Laying the trap, but he's wheeling me down over by the announcers. No, over here. All right, that's good. Orders the crew. But also, by the way, as they were wheeling, you could see guys spraying oil over the cage and painting it with oil for the finishes to come here.
It was funny, too, because he was berating the Stooges, and then one of the ring crew guys who was setting up the cage, he gets up to him. He's, "Excuse me, pal."
He did, actually. He was polite to that guy.
You know, it was weird. They had a hodgepodge of the modern steel cage,
right,
and the old blue cage, the big wide barred blue cage.
Yeah,
like the bottom part of it was that, but the top part was that weird whatever they have now, the top of the metal cage, the
wide thing on top, so you can climb on top of it. Yeah.
It's basically a lighting rig.
Yeah. So Vince orders the crew, get inside that cage, make sure it's secure inside and out. Make sure it's up to standard, he says. These idiots. Like,
God, it was
I've seen 10,000 cage matches. I've never seen anyone have to get it and check it out first.
It was so great, though. They get in there.
I've wrestled in cage matches where they should have taken the cage down. But anyway.
Vince has his cup of coffee in his hand. And I put two and two together just a little bit too late, because my first thought is, what's he got a cup of coffee for? Then I remembered. As Vince says, all I wanted was a cup of coffee. Boss man, go get him! And everyone suddenly realizes the Stooges are doing hard times.
Oh, yes.
Boss man is beating the shit out of him, and Vince McMahon is screaming, "Teach him a lesson! This is what happens when you cross me!" Just berating them as they're being beaten to death.
Next time you Stooges won't run.
Yeah, he calls them Stooges.
Not from Austin, not from anybody.
He's self-aware that they're Stooges.
For those of you who don't recall, Vince, when Austin was threatening to murder him on TV, he said, "I'd like a cup of coffee," and all the Stooges immediately left to get coffee and never returned.
They abandoned him.
Yes. So Patterson, everyone was great taking this beating, but Patterson was the best, pleading and begging for mercy. "Please, Vince, call him off." Vince orders them to vow allegiance to him.
Vow allegiance to Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
And I'll call it off. I was like, can you imagine?
This went on a little bit too long.
Oh, I don't know. Well, it ended exactly the right time. Because Vince says, "Boss man, rip their clothes off." Thank God Steve Austin showed up.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm going to have a nitpick, the Steve Austin that we've seen for the past 3 years would have let these old men be killed and would have just attacked Vince in the chair.
Right. What was his motive here?
I guess to get a jump start on the Boss Man before Survivor
Yeah,
Series.
he's got to get that Boss Man. He's his first round opponent.
He climbs into the cage to destroy the big Boss Man, and as they're fighting, there's that Dick Patterson to whack him in the knee with a nightstick. After this guy came out to save him.
Patterson is such a great stooge.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's so loyal to Vince that even though Even though he's taken a beating by a big dude with a stick, Steve Austin comes down to save him, and he's still going to go after Austin because that's what Vince would want.
Yeah.
I need stooges like this.
You do. You do not have them.
No.
Shane emerges and unlocks the door. We get Shane and Bossman having a stare down, and Vince is conflicted, but he ultimately calls Bossman off, orders him out of the cage. He points at Shane. Shane flips Vince off.
By the way, Shane flipped off Vince like a kid that just learned how to flip people off.
I would believe that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he never done it before.
Never done it before. Had it kind of wrong, but, point was still made.
So Taker comes out, locks himself in the cage with Austin. They're brawling back and forth. Kane comes out for his 75th appearance of the show. Finish the bottle.
Cage lights on fire.
Yes.
Pyro goes off. And
The
lights on
cage lit on fire. Now you know why they were wiping the cage down.
As soon as I saw them doing it, I knew what it was
Yes.
for. Yeah. So, yes.
Here's the thing before we get to extra attitude. There's still too much shit going on.
fire. Yep.
Now, granted, this show was better than Nitro because Nitro was just boring and stupid. But, you can have a balance. This show should not be boring. But they get to the point where the show can be exciting, and then they have to do even more. They got to do more and more and more and more and more. Every now and then I have to read someone go, God, Brian must have had so many head injuries. I can't remember a goddamn thing. Let me tell you something. I remember vividly everything from 1997 and before. But from 1998 on, I don't remember a goddamn thing. It ain't 2017 stuff I don't remember, or 2012. It's 1998 on when they started doing shows like this. How many fucking segments were on this show? How many things happened on this show?
Thousands.
There was a million things that happened. How could you possibly remember it unless you sit and you watch it over and over and over again?
Or took notes.
Or even taking notes. I got 9,000 pages of notes here. I'm not going to remember this shit tomorrow. Too much stuff going on. And then extra attitude, as if we needed more.
There was a lot of extra attitude this week.
10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 full minutes.
So, Austin stuns Kane. He leaves the cage to kill Bossman and confront Vince. Taker just leaves. Kane just leaves. Austin dumps Vince out of his wheelchair, kicks his ankle repeatedly. Everyone's chanting Austin's name, and Vince is so disappointed in them. Then Austin offers a handshake, which Vince is dumb enough to accept because he's dumb, and Austin flips him off and stuns him. And I thought, that was fun. And it just keeps going. Mm-hmm. Bossman and Austin play tug of war with Vince. Austin wins, kicks Bossman in the face, stuns Vince again, throws a shirt into the crowd, leaves. There's still 3 minutes to go. Austin's music hits. He runs back out. He tries to steal Vince's wheelchair, but it won't work. He tries.
Well, you know what? This man did not give up.
He tries.
Does it work? I'm going to make it work.
He tries. Eventually, he gets pushed up the ramp. And when this started, Vince is in a wheelchair because he got a bad ankle. And he was selling that up to the point extra attitude started. And then, now, as the wheelchair is being stolen, Vince and Bossman are standing in the ring. And by the time Austin gets to the top of the ramp, which did take a long time, Vince has now climbed to the top of the cage to scream at him. So Austin, who is no small, no weak man, with great difficulty, he got this wheelchair off the stage. It took him 6 tries because it wouldn't roll anymore.
It was a motorized wheelchair. They are rather heavy.
I'm sure it is.
But Stone Cold's, he's Stone Cold.
Yeah. So Vince walked out of the ring. Everyone called him an asshole again. Bossman helped him out, and it finally ended. And yes, that was 10 minutes. So, in recap, the finishes on this show were:
Oh, my favorite part of the week.
match just ends due to Kane. Match never starts or ends. Pinfall after one guy walks out on his partner. DQ due to outside interference before one of the guys had a chance to get himself DQ'd. Chair shot DQ right in front of the ref for no real reason. DQ due to run in by a superhero. And then a match just ends because Kane is there again. That's some shit finishes.
You don't say. Welcome to Raw, which won every single quarter hour.
Go off the air. Just tell me and Craig.
It is a revelation.
It's a secret.
It's happened many, many times.
Retro Raw number 285, November 9th, 1998. X-Pac versus Undertaker. So went exactly 24 seconds. I counted. And Kane came out, strides down to ring, and he gets there. He's going to attack his brother, The Undertaker. Undertaker knows this, so he's got X-Pac up as a shield. And then Kane shoots a fire gun, like fire shoots from his hand.
Dude, he was the Emperor.
And hits X-Pac in the face.
Except it was fire, not lightning.
From Return of the Jedi, he shot fucking fire out of his fingers.
This show would be so insane that you could easily gloss over this to talk about a million other things.
No, are you kidding me? Gloss over this?
Fire shot out of his hand.
Mm-hmm. Listen, so nothing that Vinny said is a lie.
No.
However, like before I figured out what they were trying to do, I mean, whatever their idea was, Kane just got in the ring and shot fire at X-Pac. Like this whole Undertaker pulled the guy in front or all of this other bullshit. I mean, I guess he did, but like it looked to me like Kane just got in the ring and he shot fire at X-Pac. X-Pac's blinded.
It burns, he screamed.
Yep. And then Undertaker nonchalantly...
Write that down. Fire burns.
Nonchalantly gets out of the ring. He nonchalantly walks up the ramp. Kane nonchalantly walks after him.
They were very bored.
I was like, why isn't Kane shooting him with fire again? Like, that's it? That's all you got? You get one shot?
Maybe he has to take a nap first and then...
You got to reload your fingers? Like, what the hell was this bullshit? And then X-Pac is down, and he's screaming, and Road Dogg is there, his good friend. And Road Dogg says, I swear to God, he says this, "You'll be fine, kid." Mm-hmm. To which X-Pac responds, "What about my eye?" This was the biggest load of horse shit.
Well,
until later when I watched Nitro.
They go to commercial, and they come back. The Outlaws and the MTs are tending to X-Pac backstage. It was Billy or Road Dogg. I'm not sure who. But one of them says, "What does his blood pressure have to do with his eyeball?"
It's a good point.
I guess.
Well, you know, when your eye's on fire, your blood pressure may elevate to the point where you're in great physical danger. That's what it has to do with his eye.
So everyone moved on now from the burned up freak shooting fire across the ring and burning X-Pac's eyeball.
Which, by the way, later in the show, they told us that X-Pac's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what in the fuck was the point of this then?
I don't know.
Maybe he used the same fireball that Hogan used on Warrior.
No, this one actually went off.
Okay.
There was fire here. The other one was like make-believe.
Yeah, it actually hit the guy in the face.
Yeah. Vince and his cronies met with Mankind. He said he would defend his hardcore championship against Ken Shamrock tonight. Vince explained this would be falls count anywhere, no holds barred. But he said Mankind needed a makeover. And they all left together. Val Venus versus Steve Blackman. So Terry comes out with Val.
Well, before that, they had the Val Venus promo from Heat, where Val did in fact reveal that as a result of his profession...
In his line of work.
In his line of work, he says, I've got to take extra precautions.
Wrestling?
No, he's talking about porn, which was like the number one thing I thought, like, so you're making more money doing porn than wrestling?
Apparently.
Then why the fuck are you wrestling?
Thank you. We're all in agreement that it makes no sense.
So he said that years ago I had and it was so great because Kevin Kelly's interviewing him. And I don't know if they did Kevin Kelly's question, but I presume his question was, why are you so sure that you're not the father? And Val said, well, because of my profession, many years ago I had a vasectomy. He says it just like that.
The way Val says it.
Yeah. And then Kevin Kelly just goes, oh.
Mystery solved.
That was it?
Well, it is, really. I mean...
He never thought of that.
The announcers then
It's not because he's cockless.
The announcers then began to discuss who the father of Terry's child might be. They narrowed it down to literally the entire roster.
Huh.
I guess she's been busy.
Why'd they have to limit it to the roster? Like she doesn't travel?
There's no other men in the world?
There's no other person that she knows, like, in her life?
So the match went 2 minutes. Terry returned and nutshotted Val for the DQ. Then Owen Hart and the Blue Blazer hit the ring, and they attacked Blackman, and that was that.
So Jim Ross just doesn't get it. And he keeps saying that. I don't get it. Because he cannot wrap his head around the fact that the Blue Blazer isn't Owen Hart.
Or that Owen might even recruit someone to put the mask on for him.
Exactly. Even though we've seen the Blue Blazer and Owen Hart together, Ross just cannot get this through his head. And Lawler's just aghast that he can't get this.
Well, he's got it set
What
in
do
his
you mean
mind.
you don't get it?
He's got it set in his mind that it's Owen.
Well, it's not. I see it with my own eyes.
Right here.
Twice.
Last week, too.
There's definitely a second Blue Blazer.
Mankind was backstage getting his haircut. Road Dogg versus D'Lo Brown versus Mosh.
In a three-way.
It was a three-way. Billy's out there, plain black trunks, no knee pads and tennis shoes, and dancing to the nation's music.
Uh-huh.
Shane was in fact demoted. Shane McMahon is the referee here. Looked like he had never refereed a match before.
Which is funny because he'd refereed tons of matches. Started out as a referee.
It was mostly Mosh and D'Lo double-teaming Road Dogg and occasionally fighting each other. Let's see, what the hell happened here?
Fucking nothing. I was begging for that Eddie versus Ray match, which when I first watched it was the most boring match they could have possibly had together. But compared to this shit, just a bad match.
As I wrote, Road Dogg made a comeback, D'Lo cut him off, and then Mosh pinned D'Lo with a top rope Fez press.
D'Lo hit the lowdown Road Dogg, laid him out, and then Mosh came off and hit D'Lo. So the old, one guy hit his finish, but someone else stole the pin.
Wasn't so much stealing the pin.
They did not fuck up the finish, however. So that was good.
The headbangers? Well,
Yeah,
it was not
anybody.
That's true.
It was 3 people that had to be in the right spot.
That's true.
After the match, Billy Gunn press slammed D'Lo Brown.
He's strong.
He is very strong.
He pressed slammed him.
He's really, really strong.
Dude, the bigger issue to me was Mosh pins D'Lo, and then Billy's just a total poor sport. He gets in the ring, starts beating everybody up. Who cares?
You mean Mr. Ass is a jerk?
He's a jackass.
The point of this was they're doing a 3-way tag match for
Yes.
the title of the pay-per-view, and they pointed out that if this had happened at the pay-per-view, the Headbangers would be tag champs even though the Outlaws were not pinned.
That's right.
This did have a purpose.
Yeah, it had a purpose to make me not care about the match.
Now, are we assuming Thrasher was hurt and that's why he wasn't here this week? Because he
was there. He was outside.
he busted up. He didn't work.
I know, but they were just doing a 3-way singles match instead of the 3-way tag match. Do it all the time.
Jeff Jarrett and Deborah did a backstage promo. Deborah vowed to prove that Goldust was a real man.
This was so shitty. Like, Jarrett's there, and it just starts out, you know what pisses me off? Because that's his catchphrase.
They bleep it.
I'm pissed off. I'm so
it.
pissed or whatever. He says, Al Snow. I was like, fuck, we agree. For once in our lives. And then he throws to Deborah, who has a cold or something. So you can't hear a word she says. She has no voice. And then they just cut away. That was it. Why did we even need this?
I don't have
I
any.
hate this show.
have any
I don't know
answer for
what you liked about the show until the very end.
Mankind was getting a pedicure. He's talking to the nail technician about his old friend, Mr. Sacco, and how great his new family is. He was so friendly. Mm-hmm. I want to invite Mick Foley, if you're ever in the Seattle area, I will go get a pedicure with you. We can hang out.
Foley's the nicest guy in the world.
I think it'd be fun. Goldust versus Jeff Jarrett. Before we get into the match itself, Brian, you chastised me last week for not noticing Terry and what she was and was not wearing.
Well, I hope you learned your lesson, Vinny.
Her nipples were so pokey they may have broken my computer screen.
I mean, she literally was wearing like a silk.
It was the cleanest thing possible.
It was a negligee.
It was silk negligee and literally nothing on underneath.
Correct.
Right.
And what was not going to fall off because her nipples were so pokey.
Yeah.
Like thorns.
Well, not to mention her heaving bosom.
And her giant man-made breasts. Yes. So Goldust said Terry had been a bad girl. It was time for her to forget she'd ever heard his name. And she broke her cigar and threw it at him and left.
Can you imagine what she must be like for him to kick her to the curb?
Yeah, I would have forgiven her.
So, doing this match, Deborah distracts Goldust on the floor. Jarrett lays him out from behind. Goldust makes his comeback. He looked awesome here for the time they had. And then he is going to punt Jarrett in the balls for the DQ. But then Deborah gets in his way. She flirts with him, so he kisses her. He turns around, and Jeff Jarrett destroyed him with a guitar shot.
I think the idea here is that in storyline, Deborah took a look at this guy and thought, well, he's not straight.
Sure.
So there's no way he'll kiss me. So she flirted with him, and then he began rubbing his nipples.
Yes.
And then he just planted one on her, which he was very, very upset about afterwards. And then, yes, Jarrett just waffled this guy with a guitar.
We ever talked about how piping hot Deborah McMichael was in WWF as compared to WCW?
I thought she was pretty hot in both places.
The
Not like this.
gown and
Made her up
tiara look
better.
was pretty silly.
Made her
on
up better
Nitro.
in WWF.
The short skirt and the low-cut blouse and the...
Well, wait till you see Stacy showing up on Nitro here pretty soon.
Jesse Ventura had just been elected governor of Minnesota, so they had a video package on that.
Vince has invited Jesse to Raw next week.
Of course he has.
I don't think he's going to be there.
He accepted like 15 years later, or whatever it was.
We did a SummerSlam refereeing job.
That's true. This year, yeah. Michael Cole interviewed Rock backstage. Rock had to beat Mark Henry tonight or he would be fired. So he did a Rock promo, promised to beat Henry.
Has Rock used the term candy ass yet?
I don't know.
Because he very specifically said he was going to walk down the people's aisle and lay the smackdown on Mark Henry's fat ass.
Aha.
Which was kind of fitting here. I mean, he was fat.
So Rock finishes up, and then Goldust zooms by. He's brawling with Jarrett. The Blue Blazer runs in, lays out Goldust. He flees.
Way to sell that guitar shot, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't sell it at all.
And then Goldust and Jarrett brawled more.
I like
So we know sold the Blue Blazer attack as well.
I like how during this brawl they found a piece of guardrail, except it was made out of pipe cleaners, I think.
I don't know.
It was like plastic, though.
It was a plastic guardrail.
Yeah.
Maybe for, I don't know,
Children?
a minis match at some point. They also brawled right in front of the door that said, "Don't block this door."
I saw that.
That had to be on purpose.
They were all blocking it.
Had to be on purpose.
Yeah.
Ken Shamrock versus Mankind in a hardcore title match. A video package of these guys hitting each other in the head with chairs over and over and over and over again. Mankind comes out. He's still wearing the Mankind mask, but his hair's been cut. He's shaved. He's wearing a tuxedo, and yes, he wrestled in it.
Yes, because nothing says hardcore like a cummerbund and tie.
He did
and
have a
matching
cummerbund
vest.
on.
Yes.
Couldn't believe it. Let me tell you the highlight of this match. The world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, applied a small package
On the floor.
on the floor
Sure.
to try to pin Mankind. I fucking howled.
So Vince and his crew come out to watch. They're clearly cheering for Mankind. They're happy whenever he's winning. They're sad whenever he is losing. The guys brawl up by the stage. Shamrock suplexes Mankind onto his shoulder on the stage. And then he grabs a chair and charges, but Mankind backdrops him. Let's see. We had Mankind... Shamrock drops Mankind with a chair to the head, and then Big Boss Man blindsides Shamrock with a nightstick, and Mankind falls on top for the win.
Why the hell didn't they just have Boss Man beat up Shamrock earlier? What the hell do they wait so long
This
for?
is
true.
The great question of
Dude.
almost all wrestling screwjob finishes. If you're going to have a guy interfere and win, why did you wait 15 minutes? Just do it at the beginning.
I mean, the only thing I could think is that, Vince really doesn't like Mankind all that much, so maybe he enjoyed watching him get his ass kicked for 20 minutes, and then he had Boss Man help him win.
It was obvious that he didn't like him because after he won, Mankind hugged Vince, and Vince was wiping his brow and his shoulder
He
everywhere.
was so disgusted by
everywhere-
this man.
that Mankind touched him, he had to get the schmutz off. I guess.
They were doing a great job of pushing that Mankind was Vince's chosen puppet, and Vince is going to do everything he could to rig this tournament in this fucker's favor.
Vince, by the way, had the greatest facial expressions ever on this show.
Yes.
Mostly in the main event segment, but this was a great one here. He's congratulating Mankind, but then Mankind actually touches him.
Yeah.
He's just sickened.
Suddenly, it's to the back.
Mankind's also calling him Dad.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome.
To the back, Cole screams, Rock has been attacked. And EMTs go running by, and Lawler says, what? And they go to commercial.
They come back,
So
and in
they
fact,
come
he has
back.
been laid out.
Rock is down. He's on his back and leaning over onto his left-hand side, and there's EMTs all around him. Cole says, nobody saw anything, but Rock was struck in the back of the head. Now, wait a minute. How do you know, Dr. Cole? Are you examining him?
Well, maybe Rock was holding the back of his head. Maybe Rock said, somebody hit me in the back of the head. Yeah.
The point is, just remember, Rock down on the floor on his left-hand side. Just remember that. Austin comes out for a promo. Says he hates Vince. Vince hates him, but Vince is too big a coward to confront him. Out comes the big boss man. Says, yeah, Vince has plans for you, and they include me. Vince is paying me a lot of money to put you in a wheelchair for life. I'll get you at Survivor Series. Austin says he knew about Boss Man's past as a prison guard. Implied Bossman had sexually assaulted his prisoners. Seriously, that's what he said. Challenged Bossman to come fight him. Bossman said, Vince is in charge, and Vince says, you won't pay until November 15th. Dumbass.
Yeah, he called him dumbass. I don't know why that was so funny, because Austin kept talking about shoving the nightstick up his ass and all this other ass. But then Bossman says dumbass, and it's funny.
So Austin calls him a coward, says he'd beat Bossman's ass for free, but Bossman went backstage and Austin's music played and everyone left. I thought this segment was awesome. I thought Austin was awesome. I thought Bossman was awesome.
Bossman cut a great promo. Austin's always great. Fans were totally into it.
By the time this is done, I was excited to see Steve Austin wrestle Ray Traylor.
Yeah, can you imagine?
I didn't think it was possible.
I'm more excited for that than anything else so far.
Yeah.
They have listed for Survivor Series.
Later on in this show, we will prove that Austin was correct in that Bossman was a horrible, horrible prisoner guard.
20 minutes have gone by. Rock is still on his side on the floor in the locker room. They haven't put him on his back, haven't had him sit up. They're leaving him right where he is and just like moving around him like bees or something. Cole interviews Vince. Vince says it is not his problem that Rock failed to watch his back. If Rock could not compete tonight, he'd be unemployed. They were by the ambulance, and Vince said he was surprised Rock wasn't already there.
Well, it's funny because Cole says, you said that Rock would be banished from WWE. Vince goes, I never said that. And he goes, well, you said he'd be banned from the WWE. Vince says, I never said that. I just said he'd be unemployed. I was like, so in storyline, you're admitting that you never uphold your word. Like, you don't want to say he'd be banished because you know you're going to bring him back if it happens.
Sure.
It's just weird.
All right, when I was excited about this show earlier, I said I liked it more than I hated it. It does not apply to this next segment, which I definitely hated.
Yeah.
Al Snow versus Tiger Ali Singh.
God, it's a good thing. It is a good thing that you don't watch Raw.
Yes, but why?
Well,
There's a lot of this.
this fucking same finish.
I see.
Not quite the same finish, but a finish just about as stupid.
I'm not even sure what you're talking about because there's so much garbage going on here.
Well, we'll get to it.
Let me just go through. I'll just read my notes here verbatim. Al had Sacco stapled around head. Tiger cut a promo on Al and ordered Babu to wrestle instead. Al knocked Singh out of the ring with head. Deborah came out. Tiger threw Babu into the ring. Al beat up Babu. Tiger distracted Al. Babu got the heat. Al made a comeback. Tiger low bridged and beat him up on the floor. Deborah started fondling head. Al hit Babu with a Northern Lights bomb. He was jealous of head because head was buried in Deborah's cleavage. Tiger hit Al with a facebuster and pinned him. Al yelled at head.
All right, for those of you that have no idea what's going on,
I'm raising my hand.
it should be all of you. So, I'll break this down simply. It's supposed to be Al Snow versus Tiger. Tiger says, I'm not wrestling a schizophrenic, so Babu is taking my place tonight. We got that, everybody? Mm-hmm. Okay. Babu's his manservant, Pablo Marquez, ECW fame, this version of Babu. Oh. So he can actually work
Fame,
a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Can actually work a little bit. So they have this match, and as noted, Deborah comes out, Al is distracted, and then fucking Tiger Ali Singh hits the ring, hits Al Snow with a move, and pins him.
Yeah.
What the fuck was this all about?
I don't know.
He wasn't in the match.
I don't know.
He gave the match up, right?
I don't. Yes.
Yes.
This was such bullshit. This referee should be fired, much like the referee on Raw Monday for that stupid finish on Raw.
Yeah, that was bad.
Go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say, to further dilute things, Mankind has been, for the last 2 weeks, been looking for Sacco. Mm-hmm. Al Snow strolls out here, and he's got head wearing it as a bandana.
Yeah.
And there was no monitors in the back. Mankind doesn't know this.
Well, you know, Mankind got beat up pretty bad. He's recovering.
I see.
I don't know.
The final thing I wrote about this was, if you were to claim this was the very worst segment of the Monday Night Wars, I would not argue with you for 1 second.
Fuck no, Vinny. Had you watched Nitro yet?
I had not watched Nitro. When I watched
Okay.
this.
Well, now it may have been head to head. Now that I think about it.
Nitro was terrible.
Nice pun, by the way.
Yeah. Head to head. Speaking of, Sable porn working out in the gym. That's what this was.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, if any of you remember body shaping from the glory days of ESPN2, Keanu Tom and her friend in bikinis doing aerobics on the beach.
She was wearing shorts and a well, basically a bathing suit, one-piece bathing suit, leotard kind of thing. And then she didn't bother to button the buttons on her shorts because that's the way you do it, I guess.
So he had slow-mo shots of her jiggling silicone as she did box jumps, and then shots from the front and back as she did straight leg deadlifts. Then a shot from the side as she did lat pull downs and just stuck her tits out as far as she possibly could. This was, in fact...
And then there's one shot of her doing these lat pull downs, and she's... I don't know how to describe it, but they do a very slow motion shot of her face.
Oh,
She's greatly exerting herself.
She's... I've done lat pull downs. They were not as fun for me as they were for Sable here.
And no, I don't know.
Thank God they didn't have a butterfly machine.
Let's just move on.
Cole promised an update on Rock's condition after the commercial break. They go to commercial. They come back. It's now been like 40 minutes. Rock is still just laying on his side. Is he... Seriously, was his head knocked off his body?
Paralysis.
He has not moved. I was laughing my ass off.
By the way, the update was Vince McMahon showing up saying, the update is Rock will soon be unemployed.
Even before that, Cole says, I'm here to get an update on Rock's condition. And then he steps in and just like starts pulling doctors off him. Like yanking them off saying, hey, how's he doing? And then Vince comes in and says Rock will be unemployed soon.
What did you like about this show, Vinny?
This made me laugh.
Fuck, this show sucks. I wrote the word fuck so many times in my notes this evening. Like, at some point I was like, this is probably overkill. I'm going to need to edit myself on the show.
I didn't mind this show, but I watched it after Nitro.
I did too, but still.
Edge versus Kane.
Now, this didn't make any sense.
Another wonderful segment here, Vinny, on a show you liked.
Dude, Kane came out with a can of gasoline,
Right.
a blowtorch,
Right.
and a striker.
Yes.
The man in the opening segment shot fire out of his fingers.
Well, like Brian said, he only had one shot.
He only had one
Now
shot.
he has to resort to more primitive methods.
He had 3 wishes from the genie, and one of them was, I want to be able to shoot fire out of my fingers. But he didn't specify unlimited fire.
Just one time.
Yeah, so that's what he got.
Magic comes with a price.
Exactly.
At the very least, he didn't need the striker.
You've got to specify.
Craig is very concerned about the technical
the
aspects of
genie.
starting this fire.
Hey, listen, I'll give this one bit of credit before we just massacre it. This Kane Edge deal was better than the Kane Edge stuff on SmackDown 15 years later.
See, I now understand why Edge kidnapped Kane's dad and tortured him around the country.
Yes.
It was revenge for this segment. So Kane destroyed all 3 vampires. Sold almost nothing. Just beat them and beat them and beat them and beat them.
It's like nothing ever changes.
He stacks them on top of each other. The Brood eventually swarms him for the DQ, but he still beats all their asses. Chokeslams all 3 of them.
Fucking DQ.
Well, yes, but you watch this, and the way he easily destroyed all 3 men, it was like, just skip the tournament, give him the belt right now. So he stacks all 3 on top of each other. He goes to grab the gas
And the
can.
referee.
Yeah, the referee ran in.
Yes,
He's
he ended
added,
up on the pile too.
there's 4 bodies now.
So Kane is dousing the pile with gasoline.
Everyone's cheering.
Yeah.
They want to see these men burned to death on live national
Jim
television.
Ross screams, "Can we go to break for God's sake? To hell with the ratings!" And then he's about to light the blowtorch when geeks run out and save the Brood. Everyone boos. Kane sulks. He goes to leave through the crowd, but he stops to chokeslam a fan over the guardrail to the floor. I don't know who this guy was,
Oh my gosh.
but Kane lifts him high up in the air, and he throws him down, and he's going down on his back. And I think, well, this is going to suck, but he's going to land on his back. And he rolls over and lands on his face. Bad times.
Well, you know, it was just a geek. Fans didn't buy it for 1 second.
No.
It's just so stupid. This was just so dumb. And by the way, it proves he only had 1 shot, Craig. Because all he would have to do is pour the gasoline and then shoot the fire. And he didn't.
That's what I'm
One
complaining
shot,
about.
everybody. 1 shot.
Vince and company came down to ringside and demanded Rock come out right now. He knew Rock had a headache, but if you're the people's champion, you can wrestle with a headache. Took some shots at the Dallas Cowboys who were there. Shane eventually comes out
It's
with
actually a great burial. He said The Rock would fit in with the Cowboys because half the Cowboy roster are convicted felons. And just like the Cowboys, The Rock is on a losing streak.
That's right.
Fans were furious. He was so great. And then Shane McMahon Strut makes his way down to the ring. This fucking Strut.
Shane says,
Thank God this guy's turning soon.
Vince, your troubles aren't about Rock or Stone Cold. They're about family business. Vince told him to leave, and Shane refused, so Vince says, "Boss man, get him!" That's a quote. Boss man throws Shane into the ring.
It's not as good a quote as on Raw Monday where Braun Strowman finally gets in the ring with Kane, and he looks across him and goes, "You throw me in a dump truck." Those are his exact words.
Well, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. "You can't kill me." So he said.
So Bossman's intimidating Shane when Austin runs down, chases Bossman away. He leaves with Shane. Bossman wants to give chase, but Vince says, no, you stay by my side. Again, this is great build for Austin versus Bossman.
Vince notes, "When I punished you as a child, you had it coming. Now get out of here, you're going to have another beating coming." It suddenly hit me like, he's channeling his own father, his stepfather.
Sure.
That's what's happening
That's
here.
probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we almost
creepy.
saw a mass murder on this show. There was a allegation of child abuse.
Yeah.
It was a great show.
Pregnant woman who
Yes, thank
apparently has banged everyone in the
you.
company.
Yes, town bicycle. Everybody gets a ride.
Oh, God.
There's a porn star in there somewhere.
There's a porn star in this somewhere who has had a vasectomy.
Right.
He's the only responsible person on the roster.
It's true.
So anyway, it's Rock versus Mark Henry. I believe this is the debut of what we would recognize as Rock's music after that horrible techno theme.
They've had it for a couple of weeks, but it's pretty great.
It's okay. The techno theme was just the one time.
Rock is, last week. Remember last week we were talking about how 2 weeks ago they had that stupid music?
Yes.
And I guarantee it'd be gone the next week, and it was. So
Yes.
it was last week it debuted, but what also debuted here was Rock's tracksuit
That's true.
that he wore to cover his gyno surgery for like months
For, like, the better part of a year
during his big run.
I think until Mania,
Yeah.
he had the tracksuit on.
Did he always have the track pants and the button-up shirt?
Yes.
He never went trunks and button-up shirt?
I think it was always the pants.
That's probably a better look.
So Rock's coming out and Vince is outraged, and the camera gets a close-up of Vince's outraged face, and behind him was a security guard with the mullet to end all mullets.
I saw your tweet.
I shrieked. I hit pause. I grabbed my belly, threw my head back in laughter, got a picture, shared it with the world. This mullet was a better performer than Vince McMahon on his best day.
Bullshit.
You got to see.
Let's
this
not
mullet.
go crazy.
It was a fine mullet.
So they start doing this match. Henry hits the 38th low blow on this show. Rock is strong, hit a vertical suplex and a power slam on this ogre. Then he hit low blow number 39. Bossman goes to handcuff Rock to the ropes. Rock reverses it, cuffs him instead. D'Lo hits the ring. Rock dumps him out, hits the rock bottom of the people's elbow on Henry. The ref got wiped out somewhere in that mess. But Shane runs out, still in his ref shirt, and he counts 3 to award the match to The Rock, so he's still employed.
Vince is absolutely furious.
The sneer on Vince's face
The
was almost
first-
as great as that guy's mullet.
Is better. But what was even better is Vince is sitting in his wheelchair. He's furious at his son. His plan has been foiled. He's so angry. And then he looks in the ring, and Rock has noticed Vince in his chair. And Vince's reaction when he realizes I'm all alone and Rock's got his eye on me. Unbelievable.
Now, this is why Boss Man is a bad prison guard. He got in a fight with The Rock, and they were struggling. He was struggling to cuff Rock to corner, but instead, he got cuffed to the corner.
Cuffed himself.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
Now, if you are a security guard and you have a pair of handcuffs, you would probably have something called a key. But yet the Boss Man did not have said key, and he stood there helpless on the corner.
Well, you see, Craig, it's possible that the key was in his right back pocket
Yeah.
and his right hand was handcuffed, and he didn't have the flexibility with his left hand to get into his back right pocket.
Okay,
big belly
that's
to get
fine.
around there.
Yeah, that's
fine.
what happened.
But these cuffs were about 2 feet between each
Oh,
other.
come on. Let's not
I'm not
nitpick.
lying. He
I mean,
could've-
this is why he's not a prison guard anymore.
Well, obviously.
This spot was so great. I love that spot.
Rock attacks Vince, hits him with the rock bottom, hits the people's elbow. Maybe the biggest ovation of his entire career right there. People loved him. So going into this tournament now, we're 6 days out. It's this Sunday, and they have built The Rock as the new hero. Austin is the old hero with a big fight coming up against the big boss man. Mankind is Vince's puppet. Kane and Taker are going to have a big battle, and if Kane wins, he's going to burn down the entire world. I don't care about anything else in the show.
You know, no disrespect to like Mankind and Undertaker and guys like that, but my revelation that I made is that the Attitude Era was entirely Vince McMahon, The Rock, and Steve Austin.
That's fair.
Nothing else. This show was the biggest pile of shit until the final segment of the show with Vince and Rock and the Austin stuff here. Like everything else was, it was either absolutely horrible or like if there was a talented guy like Mankind, it was fine. But the only thing week after week that is always great is Vince, The Rock, and Austin. Every single segment they're in, they're so good that they rise above everything else and they make the show worthwhile and worth watching. Like, I absolutely loved the final segment of this show. And if I didn't have notes, I probably would have just gone away thinking that was a great Raw. But the Raw sucked, Vinny. It was shit. But it had a great main event segment.
Well, to back up your claim, Brian, let's go over the finishes on this show.
Please, Vinny.
We had no finish due to fire shooting out of Kane's hand. We had DQ due to a pregnant woman hitting a man in his useless balls. 1 clean pin. Intentional DQ via guitar shot. Pin after interference in a hardcore match. Pin by one guy after another guy had wrestled the whole match and the guy who got pinned was also distracted. DQ when a trio of vampires attacked a burned up guy. And a more or less clean pin when an emergency backup ref ran in to count. That's a lot of clusterfuck.
You don't say.
Yeah.
But who saved the show? Vince McMahon,
The Rock,
and Steve Austin.
Now then. Retro Raw 286.
Great show.
November 16th, 1998.
Best Raw in months.
The day after Survivor Series Deadly Game. They showed one clip before the credits rolled, which was Steve Austin covering Mankind and Shane McMahon running down to count the pin, and he counts 1, and he counts 2, and he stops, and he flips Austin off and laughs. Show opens. Shane and Vince come out. They got their whole crew with them. Boss Man, Stooges, everybody. Vince brags about fooling everyone. Says these people, the fans, are fools because they did not kiss the boss's ass. He introduced the man who had never been the people's champion. He'd always been my champion, The Rock.
Oh my God. They hit The Rock's music, and he walks his way down to the ring, and it was like, look at this guy.
Holy shit.
Jesus Christ. Like, he went from a babyface that sucked to being really good, like, overnight. And then he went from really good to, like, an all-time great overnight.
It was overnight.
Again.
Last week, he was a good supporting babyface. This week, he was a top guy.
Oh, my God. He walks down to the ring. I hate to... I mean, God bless Jinder. But they put that belt on him, and he was 3MB with the belt. Nobody bought it. It's been like 8 months. Yeah. He still isn't a believable champion. Fucking, they put that belt on Rock, and he was like just barely under Stone Cold Steve Austin.
By the end of the night, that was very debatable.
And I just couldn't even believe it. And you know what? Here's the point of all of this. Here is the point to all of this. This guy was a once-in-a-lifetime talent.
Yes.
Only a goddamn idiot could think otherwise. But you know what? This company was filled with goddamn idiots because they spent the next 19 years trying to get other people to do the stuff that worked for The Rock, and it doesn't work for anybody but The Rock.
Right.
I don't know.
So Rock gets a promo about all the 9-to-5 working class, how they're striving for minimum wage, and he just did what he had to get ahead. These people are trailer trash just like Steve Austin. I am now the corporate champion. I have the best move in wrestling, the corporate elbow. And he and Shane both talked about how great it was to kiss Vince's ass. Vince began to brag about his conspiracy.
He notes, I will never forget Die Rocky Die or Rocky Sucks.
Yes.
And I vow to never let you forget it again.
That's right. They go to the video screen. It shows Steve Austin walking into the building. Vince freaks out. He's now on high alert, but he does go on with the show. And he goes and recaps the saga of Austin and Shane, all the way back to when Shane hired Austin back It had all been a trick from day one, just to make Steve Austin's life miserable. And this happens so often, where there's like some elaborate scheme, and I always ask, why did you go through all this trouble? It doesn't make any sense. In this case, it made sense, because I believe that Mr. McMahon hates Stone Cold Steve Austin so much, he would sit down and map out an elaborate month-long plot to fuck with him.
Involving taking a rock bottom and a people's elbow.
Rock said
he'll do anything for this.
Rock talked about what a tough man Vince was, to take both these vicious moves all to sucker in Austin and sucker in the people and get their trust. Said Mankind's a pathetic soul and a fool.
Make sure to note that Foley said, I quit when he put him in the sharpshooter.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. They showed the finish, where they claimed Rock had forced Mankind to submit to win the world title. Ross was very sure to point out Mankind never submitted. Shane showed himself screwing Austin, refusing to count the pin. At this point, Austin's music hit, and he came out to kill them all. Actually, he was just there to talk. Vince made fun of Austin's face, laughed at him for getting beat up. He reminded Austin that per the contract he had signed with Shane, he was not allowed to lay a hand on Vince unless provoked.
Well, by modern storylines, she just kicked his ass right there. That's what provocation is in 2017.
True. Austin showed footage of Shane announcing 2 weeks ago Austin would get a title shot the night after Survivor Series. Vince smiles and says, no, I overruled that. Austin pulled out a copy of his original legally binding contract. It guaranteed him a title shot tonight. He said, I spent today going through the Kentucky court system. The local court has confirmed this legality, and so is this guy. And up on the screen is Judge Mills Lane. He reviews Austin's contract. He approves it. It is legally binding. Steve Austin must get a title shot tonight. And Austin's music played. He left. And The Rock and the corporation threw a giant hissy fit. This is a very fun opening segment.
20 minutes, but it was awesome.
But you know what? A lot happened in 20 minutes.
A lot did happen.
It wasn't 20 minutes of one guy flapping his gums.
No.
They had to explain a very long, very complicated storyline about what had happened the night before, and then go on to the next step, which was Austin coming down. They had a lot to cover here. This was a 20 minute...
We still did it in 3 minutes. Just want to throw that out there.
I'm going to tell you this is a 20-minute segment that would deserve to go 20 minutes.
All right, fine. I'd say 12. Everything's too long nowadays.
X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws versus the Oddities. This was too long.
Okay.
As in it happened at all.
Did Billy Gunn cut holes in the ass of his trunks, or am I imagining things? Was that flesh-colored, or were that holes in his ass?
So he's been wearing trunks...
Were those assholes, Vinny?
He has been wearing trunks with the lip picture. Lip drawings on them. And yes, this week the lips were flesh tone. So I'll be honest, I wasn't studying his ass that intently. But it was certainly meant to imply that we could see his butt flesh through his tights. Speaking of flesh, Golga's new spot is pull up his shirt to reveal his belly before hitting an avalanche. I realize he has lost a lot of weight here since the earthquake days, but that was not necessary. Hey, by the way, why are the Insane Clown Posse's friends with the Oddities again?
Well, apparently they quit, and then they were offered more money, so they came back. And clearly they're not friends with the Oddities, because the finish of this match...
Let me read you what I wrote here. A clown climbed to the top rope, the camera cut to something else, and when it cut back, the clown had apparently hit Golga, and Billy Gunn pinned him. That makes no sense, Ross noted.
Well, what happened was, they claim that Shaggy accidentally hit Golga. Then they go to the replay, and he just dropped an elbow on Golga.
Billy Gunn wasn't even in the picture.
He was nowhere to be found.
I'm not sure he was in the ring.
I believe that the story is that the clowns turned on the Oddities. And I guess we'll get a follow-up next week.
All I know is the Oddities stopped the clowns to the back, and the Headbangers attacked Road Dogg, and DX chased them away, and this was some fucking horrible television.
It was shit.
We went from the peak of that great opening segment to the absolute bottom with this match.
But this is what this company was all about. It was, as I noted last week, Vince, Austin, and The Rock.
Yeah.
Everything else sucks.
Mankind was shown storming through the building, upset that Vince had made him cut his hair and shave his beard all for nothing. Vince was back at a meeting with his crew, said he did not want to worry about Mankind tonight. He wanted Boss Man to stick by his side. He wanted a volunteer to go take care of Mankind. He got no volunteers. So he orders Patterson to go talk to him, reminding Pat he's gullible. Ken Shamrock comes out for a promo. Says he has been screwed by Bossman twice. It won't happen again. He challenges Bossman to face him tonight. Val Venus versus Mark Henry. Val does a promo about horse racing and daring women to ride him bareback.
Huh.
Ew.
So, they announce that China is on a leave of absence from the WWE as a result of this sexual harassment lawsuit. So, of course, she immediately returns. Brand new face. Like, I'm talking a brand new face. Like, there is China pre this show and China post this show. I was watching all of the Royal Rumbles with Filthy, and it was like 2000 or something like that, and China enters the Royal Rumble, and I hadn't seen China, like, I'd only seen her on the retro shows, and I was like, who is that? New face, new body, everything was changed. Same thing happened here. She hasn't lost all the weight yet, but she totally had her face done. And, yeah, this lawsuit.
So Mark Henry was happy to see this woman he's suing. Val pit him with a schoolboy. Henry didn't give a shit. He jumped up, grabbed a mic, said he wanted to take China to dinner. No sex involved, he says.
That's nice.
He recited a promo.
A poem.
Oh, sorry, recited a poem, thank you. About all he had sacrificed to be with her.
It's horrible.
It's not a very good poem.
Or poet.
And D'Lo was moved to tears, but China just walked away.
I was moved to tears.
Austin was shown making some coffee backstage.
I gotta talk about this next segment.
Okay. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Vince meets with Patterson. Pat says, I can't find it. I can't find the boiler room. Vince says, you can't find the boiler room? Pat says, I can't find it. Vince says, you couldn't find your ass.
Thank God for Vince McMahon.
Briscoe then says, I know where it is, Mr. McMahon. Everyone thinks he's talking about Pat's ass. But instead, he's talking about the boiler room.
He's sitting on it.
So, Vince says, Briscoe, you need to go down there and find Mankind. I just love... First off, Vince is so great. But it's such simple storytelling. Well, no one wants to go, so Vince sends Pat. Pat comes back, he can't find it. Briscoe knows where it is. He sends Briscoe. What do you think's going to happen? Guess, everybody. We'll tell you here in a moment.
Let's not gloss over Vince McMahon's delivery of, you couldn't find your ass.
It's the best.
He's so awesome. Steve Blackman and Goldust versus Jeff Jarrett and the Blue Blazer.
Sucked.
Jarrett was accompanied by Deborah's pokey nipples, which are nearly as pokey as Terry's had been last week. You know, Goldust, I thought Goldust looked awesome in this match.
Sure.
All right. Blazer tagged in, did some stuff in his cape.
Didn't look good. He's wearing a damn cape. I mean, come on.
It's also not Owen Hart, as we learned.
Stupid.
So, in the middle of this, Blackman just hits Blazer with a bicycle kick and pins him. Okay, whatever. And then the Owen Hart runs out, and the heels all attack Blackman, and that's it. We're back with Vince's crew.
Briscoe's back.
Briscoe says...
Do you think he found Foley?
Well, let me tell you what he said, because I wrote it down. I found the boiler room. There's some weird noises going on in there, and it kind of frightened me, and I didn't go in. Which left Vince to respond, what the hell am I dealing with?
Slaughter then
They're
says...
such perfect buffoons.
They're awesome. Slaughter goes, you're a wuss.
He said that.
You're a wuss. He says, listen, I'll go down there. I'll bring him back. What do you think happens, everybody? You think Sergeant Slaughter gets Mick Foley? Nope. He comes back and says, that guy's out of his mind. I can't do it alone. I need all three of us at least. And then Briscoe says, who's the wuss now? So Vince says, damn it! All three of you go get him. I love this.
It's great.
It's so awesome.
Stephen Regal versus the Godfather. Godfather offers his hose to Regal.
Dude, his hoes are out there just... They've got to be drunk. They just keep pulling their dresses up.
They will not keep their thongs covered. I do not think this is part of the plan.
No.
Godfather is trying to play it be all cool, but he's caught off guard. And eventually he offers all 3 of them to Regal, knowing the working man had never had anything like this. And Regal says, normally I would kick your head in, but my name is not Elton John, it's Steven Regal, and so I'm taking the broads, he
I'll
says.
take the broads.
Yes. And as he starts to go up the ramp, Godfather calls him back. He quotes Archie Bunker. Now, it's actually a misquote. It's close enough. But as he says, in a line that you will not hear in 2017 on Monday Night Raw, England ain't nothing but a place full of fags.
Yep.
Maybe he meant cigarettes.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. So Regal did not take well to this, and they had a brawl. And as they were brawling, Ross says, hey, there's something going on backstage with Kane. We go backstage. Kane is attacking production geeks. This is his only appearance on the show.
No, there was one more. He attacked him again.
Ah, okay.
But the question is, what the hell's going on?
I don't know. Vince gave Boss Man a pep talk about beating up Shamrock. And then we had Shamrock versus the Big Boss Man. So the 2 screw jobs were on Raw when Shamrock was wrestling Mankind and Boss Man hit him from behind. And then at Survivor Series, Boss Man had attacked him too. So they have this match. It's a very ugly brawl. I mean, it is not good, but it was short. They lumber all over each other and fall all over each other for a few minutes, and they both punch the ref for a double DQ.
This was so bad. It was terrible.
Yeah.
God, this show is so lucky they got Vince, The Rock, and Steve Austin.
It does seem to be
Because
a trend.
if you take that off this show, this is no better than Nitro.
Oh, no. Maybe
worse, actually, yeah.
So,
Nitro had better wrestling, with the exception of Rock and Steve Austin.
Yeah. So they keep having this horrible brawl, and Vince comes out and asks what the hell they're doing. It was a fair question, because it was not fighting.
No, he says, he wants to know what they're fighting for. Why are you fighting? And I'm like, motherfucker, you booked this match. I was so angry.
So Vince repeats that Ken Shamrock is not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but he may be the most dangerous. And Vince could use a man like him. Says he and Shamrock had a lot in common. They both grew up in broken homes, had to fight and scratch for everything they had. Says he can offer Shamrock the one thing neither of us ever had. A family.
Man, Vince is Bob Shamrock now.
Yeah. He asked Shamrock to
His
come
home for wayward youth, the corporation.
He asked Shamrock to come home. And Shamrock shook his hand. Vince ordered Shamrock and Boss Man to shake hands, and they did tensely, but they did. And that was that. Hey, this was terrible at first, but at least it led to something. It had a point.
Yeah, it had a point, I guess.
Oh, that's right. Kane's back.
Kane kills more
Forgot
geeks
about-
backstage, yeah.
Kane killed geeks who were asking for his autograph. They were fans. He was beating up fans backstage, and he never paid any repercussions for this.
Oh, the cops showed up. But then he just lumbered off into the night.
Fans didn't press charges?
We don't know. I don't know what happened
I'm
after
going on a
this.
limb and say they did not.
There were bigger fish to fry because LOD comes out.
Yeah.
This is the famous, infamous
This
angle.
is infamous. And boy, let me tell you, it was infamous.
It's so horrible, everybody. Like, if you have not watched this since Owen Hart died, it's just the... Okay, so first off, there's a couple things here. They're doing this horrible match.
It's Animal and Droz versus Edge and Gangrel.
Hawk comes out, and he's acting drunk, and he starts to climb the Titantron. Now, keep in mind, everybody, before we go any further, Hawk, Mike Hegstrand, is climbing the Titantron. He's not strapped to anything.
No?
There's no mats down below. He is climbing up the Titantron 40 feet above the stage or whatever. Are you with me here?
I'm listening, yes.
This fucking guy could have slipped and fell down and killed himself.
Yeah.
Not to mention, when you get to the top, there's like a bunch of wires and lights and stuff that you have to maneuver around to get onto the top of the Titantron. This was so dangerous. So this fucking guy climbs up here. He's threatening to kill himself. Ellering comes out to talk some sense into him. He's bringing up Hawk's dead mother. Going on and on. Now Droz starts to climb. Darren Drozdov is now climbing the Titantron with no harness above a metal stage. If he slipped, he would have fell down and died. He gets up to the top. They get an argument. He shoves Hawk. Hawk falls off the other side. They drop a dummy so that you can see the dummy falling behind the Titantron.
First Hawk falls, Then he apparently levitates.
Well, he may have hit something then fell.
There's a delay.
Yes.
Hawk is anti-gravity, but there's a delay between Hawk falling off the top of the Tron and the dummy or the sandbag or whatever the hell it was that falls behind it that we see.
So he falls to his death, apparently, and the announcers get quiet, and Jim Ross says, he fell. He fell. Which leads, by the way, not to jump ahead, but I'm gonna, to, after the commercial break, Jerry Lawler saying, one can't grieve forever. The show must go on.
But he was full of glee when he said it.
This was the fucking creepiest, weirdest, most uncomfortable thing I can remember in God only knows how long.
It actually achieved a remarkable feat, which is, it was, and I mean this literally, it was sickeningly tasteless.
Yeah.
Like, I got ill watching this. But at the same time, it was also executed so poorly, it was impossible to take seriously.
It was so
There was
stupid.
zero redeeming quality to this.
Nothing. There was nothing good about this. Everything about it was horrible. One of the worst things I've ever seen. It didn't involve a guy actually dying.
Yes.
And the parallels to when Owen Hart actually died are mind-boggling.
That's even more creepy and sad. But, yeah. So...
And then...
They did...
I mean, this is stupid, but it's storyline. After he falls, Ross says, Draws should have left this up to the professionals. I'm like, Paul Ellering? Who the fuck was a professional? There was nobody out there in storyline to help this guy. Like, what's going on here if we pretend it's real? Where was security? Where were the cops? Where was the guy to talk him down? This was so... Everything about this sucked.
And sucked badly. So they did show Hawk being loaded into an ambulance, and the LOD was out there, and the DOA was out there, because, you know, it's a shoot, brother.
He's still breathing.
We were told he was still breathing. That's good news, Jim Ross says. And then Sable comes out.
Everybody goes nuts.
In a short dress, and Lawler's happy as a clam. One can't grieve forever, JR. The show must go on. We're also going to move on after this guy almost died. So the story is, Sable had won the women's title at Survivor Series, so she came in here in this gown so Michael Cole could present her with a belt. She thanked all the fans, and then Shane McMahon interrupted. So the fans didn't make you, Sable. My pops did. All the posters, all the promotion he did, that's what made Sable a star. Sable says she worked hard to get where she is, and nobody gave her anything. Shane says that's what women like Sable always say. And he goes backstage, and that's really it.
Sucked. The only positive is, for once, and this was 19 years ago, they gave the wrestler the last word.
Wow.
Unlike today.
Well, that is unlike today, but that is reaching to find a positive. They showed a clip from Survivor Series after the main event, when Mankind is protesting to the McMahons he had not been pinned, nor had he been forced to submit, and Rock laid him out with the belt. The Stooges are about to invade the boiler room. These buffoons, in their football helmets, chains, and baseball bat, go. First, they tiptoe into the boiler room, and when Mankind is not immediately visible, like good buffoons, they split up to find him. Like perfectly good horror movie victims. I'm not sure who it was, probably Pat, but one of them is shouting, Mick, we love you! Mick did not love them back. He attacked them with a trash can lid. Hey, they had helmets on. Go to town. Then they fought out of the boiler room into complete darkness. I think Mankind beat them up. I'm not totally sure.
It was terrible.
Then we had Rock versus Austin.
Finally, something that's not terrible.
I'll say. So much to talk about here.
Well, let me start with this. I thought this match took place in September. Because I remember, like years and years and years later, that before their first ever WrestleMania match, which I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that they claimed it was like their first ever match when they finally did the WrestleMania match. I might be wrong. But I vividly remembered this because I couldn't believe, A, that they gave it away for free,
Yeah.
And B, how much heat this match had.
Dude.
These people, when I watched it, I thought, I'm watching a WrestleMania main event here for free on television. But then I realized that, like, WrestleMania main events don't have this heat. Especially nowadays, because the show's gone on for, like, 7 hours by the time the main event gets in the ring. Yeah. They were just absolutely losing their shit for this match. Like, the two biggest stars you ever saw were in the ring together having a match.
And we're not saying that in hindsight, everyone.
No!
Steve Austin and The Rock in November of 1998, if you were watching this show, you would have thought these are the two biggest stars of all time. Like, my memory of The Rock is that he was a great character, but I didn't think he started having great matches for a few years after this. I was wrong.
You were damn wrong.
This is a fucking great match. And it was a great match, and they didn't do a damn thing. They were just awesome at everything they did. Like, not only were they two of the 3 or 4 biggest stars of all time at the same time, they also had perfect chemistry together. They were each other's perfect opponent.
That's I'll get to that in a second, but this crowd was so into this match that some shithead jumped the rail and tried to get in the ring, and he got tackled by security and dragged off, and probably only 10% of the fans were paying attention to that guy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, okay? You could have God versus Satan in a WWE ring, and some shithead hits the ring, and that's all anybody cares about, okay? Throughout the history of wrestling, they cared more about these two wrestlers than a guy trying to get into the ring and getting tackled literally at ringside by security. That guy, by the way, is lucky that Shamrock didn't get his hands on him.
Word.
Shamrock looked really, really pissed off. He was on the other side of the ring, and I thought, that's the luckiest thing that ever happened to that fan. He'd have killed that guy.
That's
now,
true.
As far as their chemistry, I do have to say that Austin and McMahon, like, they're perfect.
Yeah.
They are. It is the absolute perfect pairing, Steve Austin and Vince McMahon. But Vince isn't a wrestler.
No.
Like, he can do a match here and there. He's about to do one in February, if I recall correctly. He can do a match here or there, but it can't have legs unless Rock is there as Austin's absolutely perfect foil. Like, when people talk about, man, is there going to be another boom period? Dude, first off, you got to have an Austin. We don't have one.
No.
Okay? Second, you got to have a Vince. We don't have one. And let me tell you something. It ain't Stephanie. It is not Stephanie. So you don't have an Austin and you don't have a Vince. Now, if by chance you found an Austin and somehow you found a Vince, you still have to also find The Rock at the same time. This will never happen again.
Lightning does not strike twice. The stars don't line up like that whenever you want them to.
Because as crazy as it sounds, when I said Rock is a once-in-a-lifetime, Steve Austin is a once-in-a-lifetime, and Vince is like once in about 10 lifetimes.
Yes.
Do you realize what we got all at the same time?
It is a miracle. A miracle. A
This
literal miracle.
will never happen again, everybody, okay? You can hold me to this. This won't ever happen again. It's impossible. This is it, Vinny. It's mathematically impossible.
It is.
You hear me?
I agree. So, just a couple of highlights. Austin's whipping Rock's ass early, and Vince is losing his mind. And a lot of it screams, Vince is about to have a heart attack. And Ross deadpans, that's impossible.
That's a great line.
No explanation given, none necessary.
None needed.
They just keep going. The spot for the heat was, I'll duck a clothesline, I'll hit a neck breaker. Period. That's it. They didn't need to do 75 convoluted things. Duck a move, hit a move. Boom. Now I'm winning on you, and the fans will be pissed. So he's working Austin over on the floor, and every single fan in the building begins to chant Steve Austin's name. The look on The Rock's face. He's not jealous. He's not pissed. He's not amused. He's horrified. He's in horror. He's scared that all this energy will encourage The Rock to fight back, and then he'll be fucked. It was so great. They get in there. They keep wrestling. Mankind appears, starts brawling with Shamrock. And they're so God. Like, this is so perfect, I'm getting angry. Because I'll never be this perfect at anything. Mankind is brawling with Boss Man on the floor, so Rock just grabs a chinlock. We're just going to lay down here and let Mankind and Boss Man do whatever, and when they're done, we'll get back to our wrestling. They did. They started trading punches. The crowd was so loud, smoke began to emerge from my computer speakers. And they started teasing finishers. Do you remember when Austin first started using the stunner? And it was like an 8-step process they had to do, like a Rubik's Cube to hit this damn move. Well, he ain't doing that now, and Rock ain't taking it that way now. They were smooth as silk. Rock bottoms and stunners teased back and forth. Finally, Austin hits one, and he makes a cover, but Shamrock pulls the ref out of the ring.
These fans went so apeshit for this near fall, because like 80% of them thought it was a pin, even though there was no ref in the ring, right in front of their eyes. They went nuts like there was a title change. Then they found out he'd been yanked outside.
That's right. So Austin's fighting off Shamrock when The Undertaker appears. He's got a shovel. And I went back and listened to the commentary and I watched what happened. Here's what happened. Undertaker swung the shovel sideways, like a sidearm shot, and it hit Austin either in the shoulder or the body, the arm. That's not quite clear. But regardless, it didn't hit him in the head. But Jim Ross screamed, right in the head! And I'm sure fans believed him, despite what they could have seen with their own eyes, because he was so passionate about it. So that's a DQ. Austin wins via DQ. Rock retains his title. Did we mention Vince saying this would be Austin's last title shot?
He did say that.
He did say that. So Vince and Rock are confused. This was not their plan, but they are not about to look this gift horse in the mouth. They just get the hell out of there. Taker is about to kill Steve Austin with his shovel when Paul Bearer stops him, and they leave as the show went off the air.
Thank God we are now reviewing a Raw second. I'm back in a great mood again. But you know what's amazing about this? This is utterly amazing. If you're following along with us, okay? If you're following along every week, I'm going to give you an amazing thing that you're about to hear right now. As bad as Nitro was, it only gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
And as great as Raw was, it only gets better.
Yay!
This is impossible to believe. Like, it is so hard to fathom that Nitro could get any worse or that Raw could get better than this main event that we saw. But both things happened. What an amazing time to be alive.
There was an extra attitude segment. I will sum it up for you. Steve Austin hit some stunners and drank some beers.
Well, there's more to it. He drank some beers with Earl Hebner.
He did.
Because Wrestling with Shadows just came out.
I see.
So they're getting over Earl.
Uh-huh.
Being a good soldier.
So it is my duty to report the finishes in the show. Cradle after distraction where the loser totally didn't care he had lost. Clean pin where the guy under the mask was not who we thought it was. Double DQ for punching the ref. Count out because Hawk was about to kill himself. And DQ due to zombie shovel attack. I don't care. This show was awesome.
Show was awesome. Absolutely phenomenal main event. Rock, Austin, and McMahon. We have like at least 3 more years of them together.
When was the Seattle WrestleMania? 2002?
2002, yeah. So yeah, 4 years.
Yes.
But a lot of that, I mean, there's, Austin
leaves for a while.
This and that.
Pesky neck injury.
Yeah, my God. How wonderful. What a wonderful world, everybody.
That was quite great.
All right, that's it. We're going to wrap it up here for today. Raw.
Retro Raw number 287, also November 23rd, 1998. They recap last week's show. It says Steve Austin had blacked out the night before.
Okay, Vinny, let me stop you right there and ask you a question.
Okay.
How long were you into this show before you had to double check that you were watching the right show?
I don't think I had a problem with that.
Really?
I think right away, yes.
I was about 40 minutes into the show where I was certain that I was watching the wrong show.
Okay.
We'll get to it. But yeah, What in the hell is he talking about? They open up talking about how Steve Austin collapsed. And I'm like,
yes.
Okay, so there was no pay-per-view last night. Like, I watched the show last week. What are you talking about? I guess...
Well, I assumed it had been on Heat.
Apparently it was at a house show.
They had footage. It was a house show later. So, yes, they were going to interview Austin at the medical center. So the McMahons and their crew come out for a promo. Vince denies having anything to do with Undertaker's attack on Steve Austin. And as we all know, he says, I don't lie.
It was such a great line.
I laughed and I laughed and I laughed.
He is so amazing.
He's a one of a kind. There will never be another.
No.
So he said they're going to name a new commissioner. Commissioner Slaughter is stepping aside for the good of the company. It is going to name an independent, free-thinking commissioner who will not answer to me, he says. This commissioner will be in full control of all talent on all shows, except for Steve Austin. He's mine, Vince clarifies. And then he brings out Commissioner HBK, which we'll find out here as we go, but I do not think this lasted long.
Believe it or not, Vinny, it lasted a long time.
Well, there you go.
It's one of those things that, well, as we'll talk about on this show with The Undertaker attempting to embalm Steve Austin, it's one of those things that you don't remember. And as time goes on, you'll probably remember why.
I guess that's probably true. So Sean runs his mouth a bit, and he books his first match. Rock defending the World Championship against X-Pac. And the McMahons were not happy to hear this, but Sean crotch chopped them, and he left.
You know, when I watched this, because I'd forgotten how the show ended, Sean comes back, and he announces the big match. The Rock versus X-Pac. And my first thought was, what? Like, why not a bigger name? Why not Triple H, for example? Like, if you're trying to be, like, a guy who's not doing what Vince McMahon wants and you're going to sign a match he's not going to like, Rock versus X-Pac, and then Vince McMahon, the look on his face, like he's just, oh my God, Rock, he'll never survive X-Pac. It was so preposterous. But then, by the end of the show, it wasn't preposterous at all. It all made total sense. Sean knew X-Pac had no chance against The Rock, as did Vince.
Sometimes we're reviewing these shows, and I find myself writing or saying things I never thought in a million years I would write or say. Here's one. Kevin Kelly interviewed the Insane Clown Posse. So they were booked tonight in a match against the Headbangers. But Violent J explains, we're not ready. Well, I'm ready, but Shaggy's not ready. He says, we need the oddities to wrestle the Headbangers in our place. And they leave before the Headbangers can really give an answer. And Luna, she always did the ultra scratchy, gravelly voice. And here she just went high pitch and says, well, we'll do it, but what a disappointment. This was the best oddity segment ever.
I thought what you were going to write, that you never thought you would write, was oddities versus Headbangers. I would have preferred ICP versus the Headbangers.
I'm almost positive I've written that before. It's going to come up somewhere in the past few months. Although, well, different subject, but we see echoes of the past, or we see things in current wrestling. We watch these old shows, and there's, like, we're seeing, the same thing 19 years earlier. The same week the Bludgeon Brothers debut on SmackDown, here's WWF Magazine with Kane and Taker with sledgehammers on the cover.
Crazy.
It is amazing. So, they're doing this match, the Oddities and Headbangers, and Ross is going off about how Austin's a tough guy. And after that shot from the shovel last week, he'd refused medical attention, and then he collapsed. And Lawler says, that doesn't make you tough, that makes you a moron. He's correct. He's 100% correct.
And Jim Ross is trying to defend Austin, and Lawler's just like, he's an idiot. He should have gone and got medical attention.
Yes. So Violent J jumps in the apron. Golga knocks him down. The Headbangers pin Golga with a cradle. ICP sprays...
it was a legit schoolboy. One guy got on his knees, the other guy pulled him over the guy's knees by his neck with a sweater, and then pinned him. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. So ICP sprays spray paint in the eyes of the Oddities. They team up with the Headbangers, and they cut off big chunks of Luna's hair. This all took less than a minute. It was awful TV.
It was so horrible. And this is what happens. Like, I like ICP, but this is what happens when you put amateurs in the ring with professionals to do an angle. Luna's got long fucking hair. And I'm sure that a lot of it was extensions, but she still had long hair. They cut all of her hair off. Like, that's a big time heavy heat angle. They didn't wait until the ring was cleared and make a big dramatic thing out of it. A bunch of shit's going on, and in the middle of it, Shaggy cuts her hair off and flees, and they go to the back. If I were Luna, I would have been so furious that my haircut was such an afterthought, and just, it was nothing. Couldn't even believe it.
Yeah, that happened. We had a recap of Kane trying to literally murder people in recent weeks. We had Steve Blackman versus the Blue Blazer.
Whoever did the Blue Blazer did a pretty good job, because I was sure that this was Owen Hart, and it wasn't.
I think it might have been Al Snow, because I remember on the Owen tribute show, everyone was doing Owen spots, and Al was doing a pretty good Owen Hart that day. Could be wrong, but that's my guess. So it's Steve Blackman and Blue Blazer. The awful, awful music they had for the Blue Blazer. It was the same sci-fi futuristic stuff from like 1988 or whenever the Blue Blazer was actually around the first time. But it's on 1998, and it just sticks out so badly. But then that's part of the point, so it worked. So the Blazer's out there doing spots in his cape, and then Blackman grabs him by the cape, and the Blazer flaps his arms to try to flee. Now, the reason I can tell this is not Owen is that he is constantly, even though he has a mask on, he was constantly trying to hide his face. Even when he put the sharpshooter on, he pulled the cape over his face. So Blackman gets the ropes, match continues, and he goes on the win with a bicycle kick. He's going after the Blazer's mask, but then Owen Hart runs out and attacks him from behind, and Owen and the Blazer run away. So Steve Austin at a house show, he had just pinned The Rock, if you're paying attention. He's doing the Steve Austin celebration where he goes to all the corners, and as he's walking from one corner to the other, he just collapses in the corner. He just goes down. He never blacked out. He was always conscious, but he's shaking his head, trying to get his bearings, and they're trying to help him walk to the back, and he leaves under his own power, but it's not like they've had him, it's not like they had a lifeguard believing his life was in danger, but he was in rough shape.
I got to go back to the Blue Blazer really quickly. Answer this question for me. If this is real, why does Jim Ross keep bringing up that he thinks that the Blue Blazer is Owen Hart? Because, it's been made abundantly clear that the Blue Blazer is not Owen Hart. Like, the Blue Blazer has been on, 5 shows now. It's never been Owen Hart. Why are we still clinging to this?
I don't know. I was not putting that much thought into it.
They announced after... They said that after commercial, there will be an interview with Steve Austin.
That's right.
They go to commercial, they come back, it's Edge and Gangrel versus D'Lo and Mark Henry. That's correct. False advertising.
None of these men were Steve Austin.
No.
So they did a tag match. It was a fun little tag match. Heat on Edge. Gangrel hits the ring, a House of Undead Fire. And a 4-way breaks out. Edge hits a fugly Pescado on D'Lo. And then Chyna comes out on stage with a mic. And Mark Henry, who has sued her for sexual harassment, is so overjoyed to see her. He's so distracted that Gangrel pins him with a schoolboy. Henry doesn't care. D'Lo's pissed. But then Chyna says, "Look, Mark, if it'll get you to drop your lawsuit, then yes, I will go on a date with you." She goes backstage. Henry's beside himself. He's just rolling around on the mat with glee. He pops up. He gives D'Lo a big hug. D'Lo is hurt because he's the world's strongest man. And then Henry ran to the back.
There was one thing I really liked about this. It was very subtle. So as noted, Chyna distracts Mark Henry and he gets pinned. And he just jumps right up and he's smiling and is all excited. Now, normally I would hate this because, the idea that you don't care that you lost a wrestling match, they do this all the time in WWE nowadays. People just blow off losses, and they've just killed the idea of wins and losses by doing all this stuff. But the key was, this wasn't a singles match. This was a tag team match. And so even though Mark Henry didn't care that he lost, his partner D'Lo Brown was outraged. So they still told you, the fan, wins and losses do matter, even if this guy's an idiot. And think with his cock.
You have been waiting all day to say that, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
The glee in your voice there. You happier seeing that than Mark Henry was to see China.
This is a terrible story. I shouldn't even tell the story, but... So Paisley's learning how to say words. Like, she's got probably, 24 single words that she says. Like, we can point and she'll, she's got a couple words. But anyway, she's trying to learn how to say clock, but she keeps saying cock. And we were gymnastics. It was your little gymnastics class. And all the little kids are waiting in line to jump on the trampoline. And, of course, she gets on the trampoline and she sees the clock, and she's just bouncing down the trampoline going, cock, cock, cock. All the parents are looking at us like we're just the worst parents in the world. It's terrible.
Welcome to parenthood. So the doctors are telling Austin, take this medicine, get some rest. You can leave in the morning. You'll need to take a couple of weeks off. Austin's all being Steve Austin, of course. He's, I can't take 2 weeks off. Talk to my boss. I got blah, blah, blah. They told him
Talk to his boss. His boss hates him. His boss wants him to take his lifetime off.
So they told him the medicine will make him sleep. And Austin cuts a promo saying Undertaker and Paul Bearer are going to have hell to pay to get started on that in the morning. So throughout this whole show, many times now and many times in the future, they're going to say Steve Austin has collapsed and he's been having headaches and nausea and blacking out because Undertaker hit him in the head with a shovel. And they keep showing this, they show a replay here, and the shovel does not come within a foot of Steve Austin's head. Taker swung it, and hit Austin in the arm or the shoulder or something, but not his head. But they say it's his head, and everyone believes it. So great. Shawn had a happy reunion with DX. We had Goldust versus Mark Marrow. So on Heat, Marrow had fired Jacqueline. Okay? So they're doing this match. Terry comes out showing serious underboob. The fans getting a chance to take it off. And I'm like, she has. She already has. It's off. So Jacqueline comes out. She's showing massive overboob. Match continues.
Man, put those two together.
Amazing, yes. So Goldust is about to do the punt to the balls, which the crowd absolutely loves. And then Terry takes the ref, and Jacqueline low blows Goldust. In the process, her overboob goes to whole boob, and the crowd goes nuts. Meanwhile, Terry kicks Marrow in the balls. How her boob stayed in, I will never know. So I guess it's a double DQ. The women just left together.
PMS is born, baby.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know, it really hit me during this match. We're having a match, and then Jackie comes out, and then Terry comes out, or vice versa, but it doesn't matter. All I could think was, literally, on this show, nothing can happen without something else happening. That's the story of Raw in 1998.
Yeah. No, we'll get to that. The finishes on this show were different than the finishes on Nitro. We had a moment with Austin in the hospital that was great, because I bet it's the kind of thing that happened in real life. Austin is very calmly, very politely signing an autograph for a nurse. And then Jim Ross asks him a question, and it's time for Austin to cut a promo. And in an instant, he goes from Steve Austin to Stone Cold. He's ranting and raving on the Buried Alive match. And it was funny because I am sure that's what it was like every day for this guy for like 5 years. He's just being Steve, and then his little red light goes on, and he's performing. He's Stone Cold Steve Austin all of a sudden.
Well, my favorite part of it is he's calmly signing the autograph, and you just hear beep, beep, beep. And then Jim Ross asks him his question, and he just fucking loses his mind. And you hear beep, 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 because his heart rate is going up now because he's flipping his lid. And the nurse is telling him, Steve, you've got to calm down. And I'm like, well, how about you shut off that damn intercom? Because clearly he was doing okay before Jim Ross started asking him questions.
So he plugs a buried alive match. And I say, okay, Mr. Austin, you've had your medicine. It's time to go to sleep. And they turn the lights out. And the camera cuts outside where a hearse pulls up outside the medical facility.
This was clearly like pre 9/11. There's no security at all at this hospital.
No. In a match that, like, if you ask for a match to define the Attitude Era, you pick bigger stars than this, but just an ultimate example, a perfect example of a typical Attitude Era Raw match. Ken Shamrock versus Mankind versus the Big Boss Man for the hardcore title.
You know what's funny about it, though? So Boss Man and Shamrock are part of McMahon's crew, and so basically they're beating up Foley 2-on-1. And for a long time, there were no weapons. And then the Boss Man used his nightstick. Then somebody used a broom. And finally, it wasn't until the very end that someone actually used a steel chair. Like, this wasn't even your usual bullshit hardcore, garbage match. It was actually a well-worked, like, there was psychology in this garbage match.
So there was.
Boss Man swings this chair, Mankind ducks, and Boss Man just kills Ken Shamrock with this chair. Ken Shamrock, with the exception of the fight with Don Fry, where they both almost crippled each other with leg locks, I am absolutely certain, without a doubt, that Shamrock took more punishment in WWE in 1998 alone than he did his entire MMA career in his whole life. They just fucking killed this guy every week. And then the Job Squad shows up, and seriously, I swear to God, this is where I thought, there's no way I'm watching the right show. What is going on right here? The Job Squad? Like, Mero and Jackie are no longer together. There's a Job Squad out here. Steve Austin is collapsing. I was sure I was watching the wrong show. I wasn't. This show sucked.
So, in the middle of the three-way, Vince and Shane McMahon had come out on stage to watch their heavies, Shamrock and Boss Man, destroy Mankind. And so every, 30 seconds, they got to cut to McMahon's for a reaction shot, which is great, especially for Vince. So out come Bob Holly, Scorpio, and Al Snow to mess with their plans. And it cuts to the stage, and Vince, he points with his whole hand out to what's going on in the ring, and there's this bewildered expression on his face, and you just know he is thinking, who are these geeks? It was an all-time classic, and I've decided we need more matches where every 30 seconds we get a reaction shot from Vince. This would be awesome. So Al Snow hits Shamrock with head, and Mankind pins him, and that's that. Suddenly, they cut to the hospital, where Taker and Bearer are attacking Steve Austin. They choke him unconscious.
They try to smother him to death with an ether-soaked pillow.
Well, actually, they may have been trying to swing him to death. That's true. I was under the impression because they wanted to kidnap him. So they just wanted to subdue him with the ether-soaked pillow. They drag him out of the room by his feet.
I have zero recollection of this. None. I vividly remembered Rock versus Austin in the main event of last week's show. 1 week later, I have no memory of this whatsoever. It was so stupid. This was one of This was one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. Mind-bogglingly stupid. How in the world did this make air?
So after the break, they throw Austin into the hearse, and the hearse peels out of the parking lot, which I didn't know hearses could do.
Where are the authorities? Where is hospital security? How did these guys get into the hospital and break into Stone Cold Steve Austin's room? How did they know where he was? How did they know what hospital? How did they know anything here?
How did the cameraman know when to cut outside to show a hearse pulling up? How did the cameraman know to run to a car, I guess, to follow the hearse as peeling off down the road?
Hey, not to mention, why did Paul Bearer allow a cameraman to film any of this? This was a crime.
It's a very severe crime they were attempting. Christian versus Dwayne Gill.
Was I watching the right show? For the light heavyweight title? What's going on here?
Yeah. So, did you notice, by the way, Dwayne Gill's Titantron?
I did not.
It's just him being pinned by Marty Jannetty. A great Titantron. So Christian kills him, keeps picking up a 2, throws him outside. Edge and Gangrel beat him up for a while too. They're all just laughing, having a good time. And then for the second match in a row, the Job Squad runs out. And they attack the Brood. Scorpio hits a splash on Christian. He puts Dwayne on top. And Dwayne Gill wins the light heavyweight title.
How in God's name did Dwayne Gill get a shot at the title? What is going on? Where did any of this...
That is such a fantastic question.
This was just... If you only watch Raw, and we do, all of a sudden one week, Christian is the light heavyweight champion. We have no idea who, what, when, where, why, or how. Dwayne Gill is the challenger for the title. We don't know who, what, when, where, why, or how. And then Dwayne Gill wins when the Job Squad, which, by the way, we don't know who, what, when, where, why, or how, interfered for the finish.
That all happened, yes.
This show
and Dwayne
is horrible.
Dwayne Gill is the light heavyweight champion, and this killed off the Cruiserweight Championship literally for years. The hearse pulls up somewhere dark. And they dump Austin into a pile of dirt, and Taker starts to dig a grave. Austin begins to stir. He goes after Paul, but Taker chokes him out again, this time with ether.
So
Taker then has a speech.
Go ahead.
Taker has a speech. He says, being buried alive is too good for you, Steve Austin. Let's embalm him alive. And Paul says, that's a great idea. And they put him in the car, and they drive away.
It's so bad.
It is. It is so bad. Hey, you know what else is so bad? Godfather versus Tiger Ali Singh. Embalm me alive, please, so I don't have to watch this match.
Dude. I mean, when these guys came out, I said, are you kidding me? And literally the next thing Jim Ross said was basically, are you kidding me?
He says, this is all very inappropriate. Steve Austin is getting embalmed somewhere. We're watching Godfather and Tiger Ali Singh.
That is exactly what happened. They're about to embalm Steve Austin alive. And we got to go back to the ring for Tiger Ali Singh and the Godfather.
Yeah.
Godfather is offering the hose. William Regal comes out, says he got robbed last week. And then he says, Tiger, you're smarter. You're smarter than I am. You're better educated. You definitely have more money. You could afford much better slappers than this anyway. Then they just double-teamed and beat up the Godfather until Val Venus ran down to make the save.
Yes.
What a feud. It's Tiger Ali Singh and William Regal against the Godfather and Val Venus.
Yeah.
This really was a show where it hit me that it's now become the stereotype that I talked about for years. The undercard of this show is so awful, but we get a good main event every week, and that's what you remember.
Rock was shouting at Shawn Michaels backstage. The man's tried to separate them in a piece. And then Shawn was shown having a meeting with Earl Hebner, apparently just ripping whole pages out of the rule book. New Age Outlaws versus Scorpio and Bob Holly in a match that Jim Ross said would be, and I quote, a beaut.
It wasn't.
Now, let me ask you a question. Remember earlier when Dwayne Gill got a title shot?
Yes.
Why was this a non-title match?
I don't know. I have
Dwayne
no
Gill
idea.
qualifies. Bob Holly has won the tag team championship on several occasions, hasn't he? I thought so by now. Scorpio is a guy. Dwayne Gill is not.
Hey, they had an all-action match. There was a lot of heat. You know what the Outlaws are? They are the Lex Luger of WWE. They're stars. They usually don't have great matches, but sometimes they do, and they're always super over. It's like two Lugers.
Exactly. They all worked hard. They had a very fun TV match until... Okay.
I don't even know where to start.
Mankind runs out, and he's got a leaf blower.
Yeah.
A leaf blower.
He ran down, and at first I thought it was that old fake chainsaw that they had, and I was like, oh my god, they brought this fake chainsaw back. Then I realized it's a leaf blower.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Now, how long... before we get into the what, how long did it take you to realize the leaf blower had a big bow on it?
Oh, immediately.
See, I didn't know. It took me a while before I realized it had a bow. And I said, why does Mankind have a leaf blower? Why does the leaf blower have a bow? And then it was explained, Mankind wanted to give this to Vince as a present.
A leaf blower.
He runs out with a leaf blower. He runs out with a leaf blower. He hits Billy with it. Scorpio gets the pin. Doesn't win the tag titles because they don't qualify for a title match. And suddenly, like, the whole roster's in the ring brawling. There's just a dozen guys out there. The Outlaws are out there. The Job Squad's out there. Mankind's out there. Shamrock and Boston are out there. And suddenly Shamrock starts attacking Mankind with a leaf blower. And when I see that, he was not swinging this as a club. He turned it on and was blowing air on him. The fight just petered out.
I hate
Everyone
this show.
stopped fighting. The Stooges came out and left with the Outlaws. And here I wrote, I understood like 5% of what was happening here.
That's 4% more than I did.
None of this made any sense. I was actually trying, as these men are all fighting, like, who is on whose side?
Who
There's
fucking
DX,
knows?
there's Job Squad, there's Mankind. It's nonsense. Speaking of nonsense, Undertaker and Paul Bearer arrive at the funeral home and are prepared to embalm Steve. And Taker decides now's a good time to cut a promo.
Well, dude, now's the time to do a satanic ritual is what he started to do.
Well, they went to break in the middle of this, but so yeah, they've got Austin laid out, and Paul Bearer got the apron on. He's getting tubes and hoses and chemicals and whatever the hell. And Taker starts his promo, and he's going up about how there's no escape for you, Steve Austin. And Jim Ross is losing his mind, thinking that Austin's about to die. And Taker says, Austin, this will be the worst imaginable pain and horror that you could ever endure. And I think he wanted to say imagine, but he just said imaginable in the first part. So you got to think of a new word on the fly. He starts speaking in tongues or Latin or something. He holds up a big spike or whatever. And there's Kane.
Yeah.
Kane's been, I guess, in the Kane-mobile, driving around town. And he begins to brawl with Austin. So Paul Bearer says, that's okay, I'll kill Austin. And he goes up to lift a spike, but Austin stirs and he groggily fights Paul Bearer off, and he stumbles out the door, and the camera gets cut off.
Kane attacked The Undertaker.
Say what now?
Kane attacked The Undertaker.
Yes, Kane attacked The Undertaker.
Yes.
Austin fought off Paul Bearer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a Lucha Underground skit 20 years before Lucha Underground was a thing.
Yeah, but at least Lucha Underground would have shot it well, and it probably would have been better acted than this. The only good thing about this, I can't believe I'm even going to say one good thing about this. Paul Bearer.
I can't either.
Paul Bearer was so at home getting ready to embalm this man. I mean, he was in his element. I've never seen him so comfortable. He's just pulling out all of his gimmicks, and man, he was right at home here. Other than that, this was utter and complete bullshit.
Go with what you know, they say. X-Pac versus Rock in the main event. So all the corporation and DX dudes are out there, but Commissioner Sean comes down and ejects everybody. So Sean's on the floor watching, and the McMahon's come out to watch on the stage, and they're doing this match. And you know, in 2017, Rock is overall much bigger than he was in 1998. But goddamn, he had big legs back then. Huge legs.
He was a big dude.
It probably really showed because there was an X-Pac who was not big.
No.
But yes.
There was a size discrepancy here.
They were not in the same weight division.
No.
This is a catch weight fight. And the catch weight was weigh whatever you want.
I want to mention, by the way, I noticed it earlier, but I really noticed it during this match. Jim Ross was so awesome on this show. He was out of this world as a commentator. Like, it's just unbelievable. And of course, Jerry Lawler was good in his role, but man, Jim Ross calling the action here in this match. They're doing these near falls. Rock hits a Samoan drop. X-Pac kicks out. X-Pac hits the X-Factor, slow to cover. He finally does. Rock kicked out. Ross is just losing his mind. He was so great.
So they're doing this match, and Sean's anxious, and then the McMahons are anxious. And the camera keeps going to both of them, just to remind you they're all out there. And X-Pac hits his finisher, and Rock kicks out, which is funny for reasons we'll get to in a minute. But Rock goes to grab a chair, and the McMahons come down to take the ref. But Sean hits the ring, and he yanks the chair out of Rock's hands. And it probably was a major surprise in 1998. In 2017, it was very obvious what was about to happen. He levels X-Pac with a chair. Rock hits the corporate elbow, and Rock wins. Now, if this whole thing was a giant setup by Sean and the McMahons to screw X-Pac and help Rock out, why did they take the risk of letting X-Pac hit his finisher and make a cover?
I think they were very confident that there was no way this skinny guy was going to pin the Rock.
He is skinny. That is true. That is true. So the Outlaws run out. The corporation runs out. Everyone's brawling. And then Sean, Rock, and the McMahons, they all leave together. And the show ends with them doing cross chops.
So amazing. Vince McMahon, The Rock, Shane McMahon, and Shawn Michaels all doing crotch chops.
Yes.
That was worth this whole show. This is a very, very good main event again. Sure, you're shocked that Rock and X-Pac had a great match together. But yeah, it was very good. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was surprised by the angle. Like, I'd forgotten that Sean turned that quick. I thought he went a little wild first, but nope, he's a heel commissioner now. And you're going to see him on TV, so he'll be back. But yeah, that's the angle. And, I mean, overall, usual show. You can go over the finishes, but bad undercard. Very good main event.
Everything sucks unless Austin... Actually, I can't say Austin this week. Unless Vince and The Rock are involved. That's how it went. So here we go with these finishes. Bear with me. In the opener, there was a pin that involved interference, double teams, and spray paint. But I'm not sure if technically it wasn't actually a clean pin after all, because one guy in the match pinned another guy in the match with a wrestling move. So I'm not sure how you qualify that one. There's a pinfall after distraction. There was a double DQ due to multiple ball shots. There was pin after interference by the Job Squad. There's pin after more interference by the Job Squad. There's pin after interference by a leaf blower. And then pin after interference by the commissioner.
That's one shitty show.
That's amazing.
Pin after interference with a leaf blower probably takes the cake.
I think I will disagree. I think the second Job Squad run-in, because like one would be bad enough, but when they did it in the second match in a row, it's the Job Squad. What are you doing?
I don't know. I don't know.
So there you go. That was Retro Raw.
That's Retro Raw and Retro Nitro, everybody, on third.
Retro Raw 288. Also November 30th, 1998.
What you should have done is instead of counting finishes, you should have counted segments.
On this show?
Yeah.
There were no finishes on this show.
I mean, you know what? I
don't want to
kind
break
of do
my computer.
1, 2,
My
3,
spreadsheet's not big enough to
4,
count the
5,
segments.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
That's the first hour.
25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay? And I may have, it's possible I missed a couple. There were minimum 30 segments on a 2-hour show.
Yeah. There were at least 5 or 6 things where something would happen for 20 seconds and I would just ignore it. So I'm certain.
Well, luckily after the 20 seconds, they moved on to something else because it was that quick.
Yeah. We began.
I got 20 segments. I'm sure I missed a couple, but there were approximately 20 segments on a 3-hour Nitro. There were minimum 30 on a 2-hour Raw.
That's unfortunate. So, we begin with our old friends, the Headbangers, and the Insane Clown Posse.
Hold on a second. I got to do some math.
Oh, this
All right.
a while.
Oh,
Now
no.
it'll be quick. 42 minutes times 2.
You need an abacus.
That's 84. Okay.
1 for 1, yes.
All right. Divided by 30 segments. There was a segment every 2.8 minutes
Sounds right.
on this show.
Yeah.
So for the matches that went longer than 2.8 minutes, there were segments much more rapidly than that.
Mm-hmm. Also true. Also, are you just taking that from the timer of from the network show?
No, just... I mean, the show went long
Just
because
42 minutes for 2 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there was a long extra attitude thing as well.
Yeah, I'm not counting that.
Okay.
13 minutes.
Fair enough.
Ridiculous.
We'll get to it. So, last week,
I
Brian,
won't. I give him the 2 hours.
last week,
Whatever's off air is off air.
when you criticized the Headbangers for cutting Luna's hair so close to her head, it was, or you criticized the clowns, Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah.
It was the Headbangers. They're the ones who did the hair cutting.
Really? I could have sworn it was Shaggy.
It may have been both, but there was definitely a shot here of, I think, Mosh cutting her ponytail off right at the base of the skull.
Well, it doesn't matter because the clowns and the bangers are in cahoots.
It turns out they're on the same side now.
Well, the bigger issue I had was they did
Clown
the
bangers.
haircut when a bunch of shit was happening and then ran away. So there was no impact.
Well, that did happen. That's true. So the clowns and the Headbangers come out, and then before anything else can happen, Austin comes out with a shovel.
I wrote ICP and the clowns, and it was not a typo.
So
It works. It works.
These dumbasses, all 4 of them, Steve Austin's coming out with a shovel, and they just stand there clapping.
Should mention, by the way, you actually missed a segment. They opened up with Undertaker and Paul Bearer planning something
This
backstage.
is one of those things I didn't bother writing down.
Yes.
There will be more, I bet.
So ICP and the clowns, that was the second segment.
Yes. Taker and Paul Bearer were the curtain jerker.
Yes.
Yeah. So Austin comes out with a shovel. These 4 dumbasses stand in the ring clapping for him. He kills them all.
Actually, it was only 2 of them standing in the ring. He attacks them. The other 2 shitheads run in, and they get stunned.
The best thing was the smile on Violent J's face when he got to take a stunner.
Well, I'm sure that's true too.
Oh,
Probably
man.
the
I
best
would have as
moment of
well.
his life.
And they played his music the entire time like New Jack.
Yeah.
It's one man beating up 4. It's not fucking hard.
No.
So Austin says he's not going to wait 13 days till buried alive. Undertaker will be wearing this shovel upside his head before the night is over.
Hey, Babyface makes a promise. He delivers.
Yep.
And by the way, they didn't make Steve Austin talk for 20 minutes.
No.
He
didn't
got
have
in,
to.
he kicked some ass, he did his line, and he got out of there. Why can't they do anything right anymore?
They're stupid. They plugged Steve Austin and Undertaker appearing on TV Guide, warning fans, make sure you buy these ones. Don't buy the covers with that retired Hulk Hogan or the Stone Cold Steve Austin wannabe Goldberg.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I'm writing down all the segments you logged that I didn't, so I can have a better count at the end.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Austin is patrolling the hallways for Taker. He stops and asks a young, unidentified Stephanie McMahon, have you seen him? She says no.
You missed a segment. Mark Henry was
We're
getting
like 10 minutes into the show.
Mark Henry was getting ready for his date tonight.
Yeah. With
We
China.
literally were this far into the show, and I was just baffled. Like, why is so much shit
I
happening?
can't keep track of it all.
Mark Henry has a date with China tonight.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, that's from last
He's
week.
getting all spruced up.
The Brood versus the New Age Outlaws. They showed clips of the McMahons trying to recruit the Outlaws on Heat. Gangrel spits blood right in Billy's eyes, not a DQ. Then Billy immediately recovered, so I don't know what the point of it was. I believe Christian crotched Billy, but the camera missed it.
Yes.
Edge hits a top rope run on Road Dogg. Tries one on Billy. Billy hits a top rope powerbomb instead. This match was 1 minute old. Corporation comes out. There's a hot tag. There's a 4-way. And then
Oh! Hold on a second, Vinny. Edge makes the hot tag
Right.
to Gangrel.
yeah.
Right.
So
The heels.
the fucking heels got the hot tag.
Yeah.
And they're making a babyface comeback on the babyfaces.
Right.
Complete.
Deadly silence in the crowd.
There was.
They're like fucking baffled. They cannot figure out what is going on right here.
Gangrel was running wild. He had both the
so
outlaws.
stupid.
He was ping-ponging him. They were bumping. It was unbelievable.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but in their defense, they were trying to fool the fans into thinking the New Age Outlaws were going to join the corporation.
Oh, yeah.
That actually.
Yeah, well, what
that's
does that have
fair.
to do with Gangrel and Christian being babyfaces?
They thought fans would just hate the Outlaws.
Or Edge.
Bad. Regardless, Christian hits Billy with a title belt for the DQ. Then the corporation runs out and attacks the vampires. The Outlaws leave with the Stooges. This whole thing took less than 2 minutes. I was already exhausted. Austin was still hunting for Undertaker. They jumped him from behind and locked him in a cooler or something.
It's a big walk-in meat locker. Freezer.
Do all arenas have these?
I guess.
I would imagine with the concessions in
No,
the
well,
arena,
yeah.
they would have something like that.
Fuck, if you have concessions, they ain't got no good meat at concessions. This had to have been like the, you know,
You didn't say good meat.
I did not.
no.
You must still... Even the worst hamburger patty in the world must be kept frozen so as not to give
No.
everyone food poisoning.
Unless one of
No.
those veg things.
So D'Lo and Mark Henry were getting ready for the date. Henry asked D'Lo to tag along to boost his confidence.
This was great.
This
D'Lo
was
says-
great.
D'Lo and Mark throughout the show were awesome. And D'Lo says, "I don't want to be a third wheel, but if I can boost your confidence and give you help, I'll come along."
Only this one time, he says.
Yes. Undertaker comes out for a promo.
He mentioned his ministry for the first time.
Yep. Says he would deal with Austin and Buried Alive. Tonight he wants to deal with Kane, so one of them can face Eternal Darkness. Kane comes out, they brawl. 30 seconds in, Taker hits a tombstone. If it's that easy, why is this even a feud?
Yep.
He signals to the back. Out come Paul Bearer with a bunch of orderlies in white. They've all got straight jackets. Kane no-sells the tombstone, flees to the crowd. This took 1 minute. D'Lo and Henry are at the limousine. D'Lo's trying to get out of this. Says, "Look, Mark, you look all fancy. I'm sure China's going to be all hot. I am totally underdressed." Mark says, No, I got you." Mark was in the limo. Pulls that super nice blazer. D'Lo puts it on. He has to admit, fits him. It looks great. It's a cool thing. Henry says, "I got more." Henry pulls out sunglasses. And he's like, "All right, I'm going to look really cool." He puts these on
Never seen a man so overjoyed to wear sunglasses at night.
at night. But they look cool, which is important. And Henry says, "One more thing." He pulls out the chauffeur's cap.
So awesome.
Yep.
D'Lo protests.
I could so see myself doing this with you.
This was a Brian and Vinny skit pulled
It
off
was.
by Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown.
It was.
So D'Lo's outraged, he's offended, he's pissed, but he agrees to do it. And he goes to sit in the front of the car. And Mark says, "D'Lo, the door." And D'Lo stands and says, "Get yourself in that car."
Get your ass in the car, he says.
Yes.
And he intimidated the world's strongest man.
That's right.
Because no matter how small you are, if you make a big guy mad, he's afraid of you.
Yeah.
What?
No matter how small you are, if you get mad, the big guy's afraid of you.
Right.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Regardless, this was awesome. They go to break, they come back, they're at the hotel to pick up China.
I didn't count this as a separate segment, but I should have. So,
Sure.
There was a commercial break in the middle,
Yeah.
that's two.
Yeah.
China comes out, she's got jeans on and a leather halter top, and the arms are out and her belly's out and looking all hot. And she wants to get this over with. She does not want Mark to touch her. And then she gets to the car, and D'Lo's there holding the door, and she starts to get in. She's got like 1 foot in the car, and she stops and looks and just says, "D'Lo?" And she's disgusted, but she gets in. Now D'Lo's embarrassed.
Mark was being so overly nice, insisting they were going to have a good time, just being as nice and friendly as can be.
Had flowers for her.
He was so Ed in San Antonio. Am I wrong?
No, you are not.
That's all I could think when I was watching this thing.
In hindsight, the Mark Henry China date was far and away the highlight of the main show of Raw.
I'd say.
And Mark Henry, much like Ed in San Antonio, never got laid.
No. So, yeah, okay. X-Pac comes out for a promo. Mentions the Outlaws and the McMahons, but says you have to ask them what's going on. I want to talk about Shawn Michaels. So Shawn comes out in a suit and he's running X-Pac down. And he says, I've got chunks of guys bigger than you in my stool.
You know, this X-Pac promos, Vinny recaps it here. Could they have made X-Pac into a bigger geek?
No.
Dude! Geek of the week. Now, for those that forgot, Shawn Michaels attacked and turned on him last week.
Yes.
Okay?
Hit him in the head with a chair.
He's really
Cost him
mad.
the world championship.
He's so mad he goes, Shawn, get your ass out here. I'm going to beat your ass. This is what happens. Shawn comes out and buries him.
Shawn buries him straight. He's too small. I've got chunks of guys bigger than you in my stool. Do any of you want to share X-Pac's reply so I don't have to say it?
I just skipped the whole thing. So, Shawn says he's not a wrestler. He's a commissioner.
So, Shawn ignores X-Pac's line much as I am going to. Threatens to send him back to that money pit in Atlanta. Great. This is a poor threat. Eventually he books Shamrock. He books X-Pac against Ken Shamrock, and X-Pac's title will be on the line. Shamrock's won't. He says, I was DX before DX was cool. They play his music, he leaves, and poor X-Pac is left there like a
just standing there like the biggest numbskull. This was like Stephanie McMahon and any random dude on Raw.
Yeah, actually. Mark and China arrived at their date. This all should have been like one video package put together.
No, I liked it better like this. I needed a break.
He gave her flowers. She checked the price tag. They were $1.99. She was appalled.
Hey, listen, it's the fucking thought that counts.
And where do you get flowers for $1.99 nowadays?
This was 97.
It was the 90s.
Absolutely fresh flowers.
There's no way.
They found the cooler. There was no Steve Austin there.
Yeah, great storytelling. He was in, now he's out. How? Who? What? When? Where? Why? Who the fuck knows?
Well,
He just got out.
the guy from the kitchen came and grabbed some...
Got some meat.
Sure.
While I'm here, Steve, you want out?
Hey, there's a guy in here. Get out of there.
Get out of our cooler, guy.
Should have just had Austin eaten. That would have been a segment. Why didn't they put that segment in there?
Eskimo
Austin just
pies.
comes out
They
with
like
a
open it up. He's got a
burger.
big ass turkey leg and he's eating it. They're like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
I was thinking ice cream sandwiches, but that'll work.
In a match I've completely forgotten, and we'll have to go through my notes to remind myself what happened. Jeff Jarrett versus Goldust.
So Owen's doing commentary. He says, I'm not the Blue Blazer.
Yes.
I'm retired, but I like to come to the show and see my friends.
It's very expensive, he said. Flying myself all over the world to see my friends and fans.
I'm so glad Owen got that in there because that would have been the hole in the logic. But he's addressed the lunacy of this.
So they had a very boring match. Goldust goes for the Shattered Dreams. Deborah distracts Goldust with her boobs. Owen attacks Goldust for the DQ.
Goldust responded to the offer of booze by offering his own ass, by the way.
Oh, but yeah. So Blue Blazer runs in, but then he turns on Owen and reveals himself as, of all people, Steve Blackman?
It was a trap by Blackman.
And then they play Blackman's music for like 5 minutes. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're trying to make me care about this?
All I know is Steve Blackman, after all these months, I believe, finally got one over on Owen Hart. You've never seen him so happy. He was so elated to have fooled Owen Hart and punched him.
Is this the first time we've seen Blackman since he kicked Owen in the chest that one time?
Oh, that's right. That was only like 3 weeks ago.
That was awesome.
Big Boss Man versus Mankind.
Man, you missed a bunch of segments. Steve Austin is mad backstage. Then they
That's a
have
segment.
Paul and the Orderlies looking for Kane in another part of the build. Those are 2 segments, dude.
All right.
Then we had Big Boss Man Mankind for the hardcore title.
In a ladder match for the hardcore title.
But talk about watering down the ladder match stip. They had a random, nothing happening ladder match on Raw, unadvertised, that I'm sure every single solitary person forgot.
Yeah. They did things like falling off the second step of the ladder, or running into the ladder and pushing it down, or running into the corner. Nothing insane at all, which is great for them. Great for them.
Sean's doing commentary, dropping such gems as, if I were Mick Foley, I wouldn't let that happen to me. Thanks, Sean.
He was also writing down scores of every move that Mankind would do and showing them, like, the only thing that got above a 6 was Mankind dropping an elbow on the ladder onto Big Boss Man.
To his credit, he was also out there saying, Mankind only has to do all this stuff to destroy his body because he can't wrestle like I can. So, let's see. They're brawling on top of the ladder. Foley gets the Socko Claw. Didn't he lose Socko? And like Al Snow had it?
Well, this was clearly a different sock.
Okay, fine. You got a new sock. All right. Rock runs out, pushes the ladder over.
This guy's legs were so shiny. Am I the only one?
Well, he wasn't wearing knee pads
I was
or
so
boots.
with you until that very last word.
They were so shiny.
I mean, they were very, very shiny. They were massive.
They were enormous and shiny.
Good Lord, his legs.
Not a good look for The Rock when he's wearing trunks, low tennis shoes, and a shirt.
What are you talking about? He looked like Taz out there. Giant legs. All shiny. I don't know why they were so shiny.
Well, he just had them waxed.
I guess. So it becomes a handicap match, and eventually Boss Man climbs the ladder and grabs the belt.
It was horrible. They dumped the ladder over. Mick fell off the second from the top, and it fell onto the ropes, and Mick got his leg in between the ladder and the ropes, and it just wrenched his leg backwards, and Sean even shouted, "Oh my God, his leg's broken."
Yeah.
I just like how they did that, and then Bossman goes to climb, but Mick just gets back up. And then they do more goofy spots, and then finally Rock gives the rock bottom, and he goes up and wins. Just too much shit going on here.
Shawn and Rock and Boss Man all beat up Mankind for a while, and they replayed Mick nearly breaking his leg on that stupid ladder spot.
And then Lawler goes, "What's next for Mick Foley, or Mankind, or whatever?" And JR says, "Maybe the WWE Championship." Like, what?
Yeah, if you
Why'd you say that?
He is challenging at rock bottom,
I guess that's true.
so he has a title shot in 2 weeks.
That's
to plug.
true.
Yeah.
Then Sean gets in the ring and gave Foley a stomp and dramatically sold his back.
Yes.
He's so great when he's in the ring. I've always said that Sean was awesome at every single thing he did. I was wrong. He's terrible at commentary.
Right.
But that's the only thing.
I bet if we went back and watched the early Raws, you would have a different opinion.
About his commentary?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
This was not a good time
like
for
the 90.
HBK.
No, it's not a good time in his personal life or professional life, really. The 93 and 94 Shawn on commentary on Raws, I bet was awesome. Kane and Taker were brawling in a poorly lit conference room. Taker laid him out with a chair. He begins to put Kane in a body bag and says, "Paul, go get the orderlies. I'll handle this." Paul Bearer waddles out of the room. Austin appears behind Taker, breaks a shovel over his head.
as promised.
Lived up true to his word. 45 minutes later. Mark Merrow gets a promo. Says the light heavyweight champion is a guy named Dwayne Gill. He's from right here in Baltimore. And if I can't beat this moron, if I can't beat this jobber, this will be the last time you see Mark Merrow.
You know what's so baffling about this? This was the end of Mark Merrow.
This actually was his retirement?
He had one match. They did the UK Capital Carnage pay-per-view, which was the show where Jackie's top got ripped off.
Oh, yeah.
People don't remember Merrow was in the match because they only remember her boobs. But he was in that match. No explanation why, by the way.
There's 3 boobs in the match.
And then that was it.
Sable, 5.
And he had a 3-year deal. So, like, it wasn't like his deal was up, and so he did this match in this retirement. I don't know where they were going with this, but he never came back.
He never came back.
It was weird.
So Dwayne comes out with a bunch of 9-year-old football players. Mark beats him up for a minute, hits the TKO. The Job Squad all run out, and then add this to the list of things. Are like, I thought I was watching a show from the wrong decade. I could not believe my eyes. I had zero memory of this guy being in this company at this time. The Blue Meanie.
Yep.
The Blue Meanie
Yeah,
runs in. He interferes and costs Mark Merrow his career.
that's true.
The Blue Meanie cost Mark Merrow his career.
Yeah.
What?
Well, at the time, we didn't know this was the end of his career, so we didn't think twice. We just thought it was some bullshit angle.
The Blue Meanie was in WWE?
Well, you just saw it, you idiot.
He wasn't there very long, but he was there.
This was in a Photoshop?
Vinny, this happened. Get over it.
Wow.
There's going to be more. Trust me.
It can't be. This has to have been like this was a 2008 show that got started in 1990 or something.
No. This was really 1998.
And the Blue Meanie was on Raw.
Yes.
Huh.
Well, you saw it. What are we arguing about?
I don't know.
All three of us saw it. It happened.
Paul finds the orderlies and leads them back to where he came from.
Yeah. I didn't write that one down.
Mark is trying to woo China at the restaurant, and I don't know what music they had playing originally, but they had to drown it out with generic network stuff. So it's very hard to hear what they were saying.
By the way, if you want to hear generic network stuff, Dwayne Gill's entrance music, smooth jazz.
So
Nice job, network.
So I didn't hear much of what they said. By the end, Mark said, dinner is over, it's time to go dancing, and China reluctantly agreed.
All I know is she was drinking like crazy.
She did just have like a bottle of wine with her.
Apparently she never stopped.
Oh, Craig.
Oh, jeez, I'm sorry.
X-Pac versus Ken Shamrock. Middle of the match, they cut backstage to show the man's chatting with the Outlaws. Ordinarily, this kind of thing would annoy me. In fact, I was annoyed when they did it at first. And then go back to the match and I realized I didn't miss anything. Shamrock and X-Pac had a boring match for a while. I did like Sean on commentary burying X-Pac the entire time, but then X-Pac hits the Bronco Buster and Sean marks out. Then Sean pulls the ref out of the ring. Says no ref. Boss Man runs out and clotheslines X-Pac, but then Triple H is back for the first time in months and he attacks Shamrock for the DQ. Now think about the way this happened here. Triple H makes his triumphant return. He saves his pal from a beating that was about to be delivered to him unfairly. And they escape to safety, and they're crotch chopping. They've made their opponents look like fools. But officially, Ken Shamrock was the winner by DQ, so they played Shamrock's music. That made me happy.
Yeah, he was the
won.
winner.
Yes. Paul and the orderlies find a body bag. Bearer unzips it, sees the top of Kane's mask, zips it back up. They put Kane on the gurney. They wheel him away. Bearer is delighted.
So Kane has two masks?
Always carry a spare.
Well, when we saw him later on, he never actually put his face to the camera, so he's walking around without it, I guess.
He came out by the end.
That's true.
In a mask.
That's
yeah.
true.
I know it's hard to keep track of the 87 different Kane segments in the show, but that is true. Mark and China. Oh my God.
This was so great.
They're like at Applebee's.
Sure.
For dancing. Mark's the one guy in the building trying to dance, except for the white guy in the mustache and glasses behind him who's like doing a shoulder shimmy and clapping along. I want that guy to get a show. So all the white people in the bar start trying to clap along to the rhythm, and they're all failing. Mark's trying to get China to dance. I don't blame her for not doing it.
But you know what? She's trying to pretend like she's not having a good time.
But she was.
But she is smiling.
He's making her laugh.
And he finally gets her onto the dance floor where she claps a couple of times before realizing, I'm supposed to not like this.
Yeah.
She sits down again.
And Mark says, all right, I'm going to go powder my nose. Watch my jacket.
I'm going to go powder my nose?
That's what he said.
Well, before he got her onto the dance floor, he says, China, come on, let's
I looked right at Craig.
Let's bust a move.
Right.
Bust a move.
That's what you do.
Yeah, Craig, get with the program.
All I'm saying is if you use the words bust a move on a date, you're not going to bust a nut later.
I don't know. So, more importantly, Brian's stuck. He can't move on. Speaking of not busting nuts, the goofs they found to come in and hit on China.
That's true.
Versions then, versions now, I'm sure of it.
Wow. Must we ruin my show?
So,
Why should we start now?
they hit on China. She turns them down. They call her a bitch. She drops one with an elbow. Utterly believable. All of this, something I'm sure happened a bunch of times in real life. She drops one. And actually, the way this is put together, it's important. China was not a helpless victim. China beat the shit out of this guy. But then before anything else can happen, Mark Henry is there to beat the shit out of the other two guys. And he throws them around, slams one guy's head into the wall, which looked really painful, actually. And then China starts to grab Henry away before the cops can show up. That is apparently the end of the date. I'm so sick of Tiger Ali Singh.
Yeah.
This has got to be like the worst act they've ever had. It's never any good. Val Venus versus Tiger Ali Singh. Val's got the Godfather in the women's. He cuts a promo saying he fucked Tiger's girlfriend the night before. Points to Babu, calls him a little monkey, and says, Godfather, if he gets out of line, spank that monkey.
That's a masturbation joke.
It was. I will say Tiger did one cool suplex here, so there was at least one moment of competence in his run. Godfather sends his women to seduce Babu. Terry and Jacqueline come out. Terry hits Val with a nut shot for the DQ. Farouk and Bradshaw appear. They destroy Tiger. They destroy Babu. Jackal is there. Why? I don't know.
This was so bad. Okay? This was bad. Terrible television. It sucked.
Paul waves goodbye to the ambulance. Paul Bearer, I guess I should clarify. The ambulance drives away, and then Austin and Kane are shown watching this on a monitor.
They were in cahoots.
They were. They were in cahoots.
Yep, they were in cahoots.
Shane
Which
comes
is
out.
so bizarre. Stone Cold and Kane were in cahoots?
Well, there's a point later. They've hated each other for a year. They've tried to kill each other several times. But apparently they both hate Undertaker. And last week,
clearly.
Perhaps on accident, Kane saved Austin from being embalmed alive. So you can see why Austin would be indebted to Kane.
Sure.
Just not sure why Kane's hanging out with Austin.
That's fair.
I guess Austin just...
Well, it takes two guys to put him into the body bag.
I guess they just... Austin...
One has to hold him down, one has to zip.
Austin's a smooth talker and convinced Kane... Yes, Craig, he said that. So, Shane comes out for a promo.
What the fuck was the point of this shit? God. We
Sable's
needed
out-
another segment, and this was it.
Sable's out there modeling perfume, which I didn't know you could do. But she's out there holding up like the bottle like a Price is Right model, and Shane's doing the plug, and he goes over to get a whiff of the perfume, and she sprays some on her wrist, and he smells that, but he starts to move in closer, and so she sprays the perfume into his mouth.
He's looking right down her cleavage.
Yeah.
She didn't like that,
it
apparently.
wasn't very hard to do.
Yeah. And she leaves, and Shane tries to play cool, like it's a good mouth spray too, and he leaves, and that's it.
You're burying the lead. WWF had a perfume and a cologne.
Well, there's that too.
What?
Well, you want to smell like...
Scent O Wrestler?
If you want to smell like Al Snow, we got the...
Unwashed trunks worn 4 days in a row? Al Snow and The Rock. Another week, another shitty new song for The Rock.
No, you know what's funny? He comes out with a totally random shitty song. And I'm like, there's no way this even lasts a week. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but when he won, they played his other song.
It didn't even last 10
It
minutes.
didn't even last this show.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, I did.
All I was, I'm watching this thinking, this is supposed to be your star, and he's coming out to 3 drum beats and hand claps.
Not only that, Rock is the champion of the whole world. In there with Al Snow.
That's also a good point.
Fucking Rock grabs head, gives it the people's elbow. Al gets a hold of it, waffles to Rock. The ref is down. Fans count the pin. Only the fucking Rock could survive a visual pinfall to Al fucking Snow. That's amazing.
That is all true. Yeah.
After all we talked about on Nitro, about Kidman and how his career was crushed by that one loss to Scott Hall, Rock took a visual pinfall to Al Snow and survived.
Yeah. That all happened.
That blew my mind.
So there's all kinds of malarkey going on here.
Malarkey. That's a great word.
What the hell happened? Al's distracted by Shamrock.
Boss Man and Shamrock come out. Al's distracted. Rock hits the rock bottom, gets to pin.
This time he wins, yes.
They play his good music.
Yes. So Mankind runs out to brawl. The Job Squad run out, and Rock says, I am not going to appear on camera with these idiots. I'm grabbing my belt. I'm getting the hell out of here. He gets to the top of the stage, and in fact, he was never on camera with the Job Squad. Mankind runs him down. They brawl and go backstage. Bearer is searching for Undertaker backstage to tell him Kane is gone. He does not find the Undertaker. He finds Steve Austin and Kane. This made him sad. So Austin and Kane drag Bearer out to the ring. Now, at the timer at the bottom said there were 15 minutes left. Thank God this only went 5.
This was not good.
They tortured and humiliated Paul for a while.
Austin's quite the trash talker.
You don't say.
He did some great trash talking.
It was Austin talking
Paul
smack on
Bearer.
Yeah, he also threatened to end a man's life.
Yeah, and strip him nude.
In that order.
I guess so, yeah.
Well, you know, when you're going to jab
Scissors.
a spike through a guy's chest,
Scissors.
I mean, just make sure that it's good that he has his chest bared.
That's true. You gotta have a good target, yeah.
Fucking target? The guy's 400 pounds.
Yeah.
The point was he didn't need to tear his shirt open to puncture his chest with a sharp implement.
So he says, I'm gonna stab you with these scissors. I'm gonna light you on fire. Go get your gas can. Wait, I got something better. And he starts cutting up Paul Bearer's shirt and tie. and Bear is on his back. He's calling out Undertaker's name. Taker, where are you? Undertaker! And this doesn't work, and so Paul switches tack and just shouts out, Jesus, take me home! I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed.
Yeah, Austin was trying to cut the man's shirt, and it didn't work, so he ended up ripping the shirt. And then he said, well, so he tries cutting the tie, but the scissors are so dull that he's not cutting the tie. And now he's starting to plunge the scissors into this man's chest and open him up. Unbelievable.
Instead, they take him outside. They've got him in the parking lot, and it's like just like on Nitro, actually. Everyone's fighting outside. Kane takes the manhole cover off a manhole. Mm-hmm. I don't work in plumbing. Is this something you can just do? Don't you need?
They're heavy.
Equipment?
If you had
a big, strong guy like Kane could do it.
Yeah, Kane's gonna just rip that thing out of the earth.
If you had a crowbar, you could probably get it off.
Okay.
I'm sure they did that in advance.
They take the lid off. I'll be honest. I thought there's no way in hell Paul Bearer is going to fit into this manhole.
Not only that,
I thought he was going to get stuck with his feet in the air like Winnie the Pooh.
They dumped his ass in head first.
Yes.
I was like, where did he go?
Well, I went down to see Donatello and
I figured there were humans down there that caught him. And like
the chud.
But I mean, he's so big. Like, how many guys were down there to catch this guy?
That's a much better reference than the Turtles.
Thank you.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, Brian. They're in the sewers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, don't go down there.
No, they'll eat you. Cannibals.
Of course, they're probably still full from Paul Bearer.
Ooh, good call. So they put the cover back on, Austin's music plays, and that's how the end of Raw goes off the air.
But wait.
Now there is
13 minutes.
There's 13 minutes of extra attitude. I will not do it in detail. I will just tell you what happened. Austin went back down to the ring. Rock attacked him. Austin stunned him. Austin drank beer. Rock spent like a full minute getting to his feet. Austin stunned him again. Austin leaves. Rock goes to the mic and declares he is still world champion. Austin comes out and says, you know what, you're right. That was a non-title match. Let's share a beer. Rock takes a beer, goes for a sneak attack. Austin stuns him a third time. Austin leaves. Shane comes down. Shane's checking in the Rock. Austin comes back. He stuns Shane. He stuns Rock a fourth time and then stuns Shane a second time. This was the best thing on the show.
That's almost how many segments they had.
Yeah.
This was... I guess so. 6 stunners in one segment.
If you were there live in the building while this was going on, I'm sure it was awesome. If you're watching Extra Attitude,
it's pointless. If you skipped it, you don't need to go back and watch it. But you know what? I watched it. It was the best thing on the show.
So, when I was going through the segments earlier, I had a couple of segments that I counted as 2 segments, even though they were 1. ICP and the Clowns coming out, and then Austin showing up with a shovel. That's just 1 segment. I had it counted as 2. So after listening to your recap and conflating dual segments here, the final count on this show is 32 segments.
We added some.
32. I missed 4. 32 segments.
And I missed some of yours.
In a 2-hour show.
That's too many.
So once again, 42 minutes times 2.
That's 4 segments every quarter hour.
84 minutes divided by 32 segments. 1 segment every 2.6 minutes. That's outrageous.
And ridiculous.
In all those segments, if I'm doing math right here, that's 7 wrestling matches. Here are the finishes.
Thank you.
DQ due to outside interference and a belt shot. DQ due to interference by a retired Canadian. Pinfall after outside interference. DQ due to interference by a degenerate. DQ due to nut shot by a woman not involved in the match. And a pinfall after distraction.
It's crazy.
It's not a clean finish on the show.
It's not a good show.
Glory era, everybody. This is the glory era.
Did you happen to catch the little icon for next week? For Raw, there is a somebody gets crucified on a symbol.
Oh God!
I think I actually missed.
Kurt
that
Angle
one the
was.
Time around.
Oh no, that was ECW.
ECW's crucified salmon.
Yeah, but actually, he should be coming in here in about a year. So, anyway, everybody, that's it for today.